His first status screen reveals a golden cheat before his body can even support a normal life. One attribute promises endless growth, but only if he keeps training the same ability. So every crawl, kick, and secret workout becomes an investment nobody around him can detect. His parents celebrate a gifted child while he quietly studies the rules of a dangerous new world. At school, a silver-haired transfer student arrives carrying an aura that does not feel human. She barely speaks, sleeps through class, and soon begins secreting a substance nobody can explain. When classmates turn the mystery into cruelty, Xiao Chen realizes the problem is bigger than gossip. That night, a sonic boom tears through the city and sends government cyborgs into the sky. A mutant beast is not attacking at random. A hidden cult is pushing humanity toward panic. Xiao Chen runs into the danger anyway, because his friend is trapped where ordinary people cannot survive. The rescue succeeds only because the world finally shows him what his future enemies look like. A newborn wakes up with memories, a working mind, and a system that rewards every movement. Jiang Wanxin cares for her newborn son, unaware that Lin Zichen remembers another life. As pressure builds, Jiang Wanxin sees only a loving baby, never suspecting the mind behind his eyes. Instead, Lin Zichen studies his new surroundings while pretending to be a helpless infant. Then the system appears, giving Lin Zichen a golden advantage before he can even speak. 3 months pass, and his parents mistake relentless training for natural talent. His first reward is brutally simple. Repeat one movement, and that body part keeps growing stronger. Lin Zichen looks thoughtful in his crib, imagining heroic figures resembling Spider-Man and Iron Man as he wonders what gene fusers and cyborgs actually are. At 4 months, he trains on the floor while the system rewards every movement. By 5 months, he can walk in darkness, but keeps the impossible milestone hidden. At 6 months old, Lin Zichen sits on the living room sofa between his parents. The news explains that this world survives through cyborgs and gene fusers because mutant beasts are already hunting civilians. The broadcast reveals a terrifying mutant beast threatening humanity. Humanity survives through cyborg technology and gene fusion. As pressure builds, Lin Zichen clenches his tiny baby fists with a determined expression. Instead, Jiang Wanxin opens the front door to greet a new neighbor. Sumeng introduces her husband, Shen Jianye, who stands behind her holding their cute, purple-haired baby daughter, Shen Qinghan. The two families become close, giving Lin Zichen a childhood ally before he needs one. By 7 months, Lin Zichen is already jumping higher than any baby should. He repeats the movement until the system turns practice into power. As pressure builds, even speech becomes training, because the system rewards every improvement. His secret routine nearly ends when Jiang Wanxin walks in without warning. She blames exhaustion for the impossible sight, but the baby keeps training. With the stakes rising, Jiang Wanxin convinces herself she is just hallucinating from overworking as a novelist. A second discovery forces the parents to admit their son is not ordinary. His father studies the evidence and reaches the wrong conclusion for the right reason. A light bulb over Lin Yanqing's head as he strikes a proud pose, suddenly coming to a dramatic conclusion about his son's physical state. They label him a once-in-a-lifetime prodigy, accidentally giving him the cover he needs. Jiang Wanxin sits on the floor next to her young son, Lin Zichen, watching a live news broadcast on television. With the stakes rising, Jiang Wanxin gently pats Lin Zichen's head. Meanwhile, Lin Zichen's wide, sparkling eyes, reflecting the protest of the martial prodigy from the television. Now 2 years old, Lin Zichen stands in a storage room surrounded by cardboard boxes. As pressure builds, Lin Zichen is startled, his eyes widening in shock and his hair standing on end. A toddler's chubby hand reaching up to push open a dark wooden door. A young girl with purple hair tied in twin tails, dressed in a fancy blue and white dress, stands holding a small golden tart. While Shen Qinghan sleeps soundly on his back, Lin Zichen uses her weight to perform push-ups on the floor. Meanwhile, Lin Zichen strains under the weight of Shen Qinghan on his back as a puddle of liquid pools on the floor beneath them. At 3 years old, Lin Zichen stands in the storage room. As pressure builds, Lin Zichen sits in front of the television. Instead, Lin Zichen looks at his blue holographic status screen, which displays his current stats. Lin Zichen steps outside into a futuristic city filled with towering skyscrapers. With the stakes rising, Lin Zichen walks down the street alongside Shen Qinghan, who is holding a bag of treats. Meanwhile, Lin Zichen runs ahead toward the deeper sections, ignoring the children's area. Jiang Wanxin and her friend watch Lin Zichen from a distance, puzzled by his choice of reading material. As pressure builds, Lin Zichen sits on the library floor, deeply engrossed in a book titled Monster Encyclopedia, a vertical montage illustrating the various powerful beings and monsters that inhabit this world. The system converts the result into another reward, giving Xiao Chen a clearer route to evolution. He turns every quiet moment into training and study, building both body and mind. Meanwhile, Lin Zichen and Shen Qinghan, dressed in matching blue and white kindergarten uniforms, walk hand in hand with their teacher, Miss Strawberry. In the school's sports equipment room, Lin Zikin stands casually with his hands in his pockets. As pressure builds, inside a classroom, a group of kindergarten children surround Shen Qinghan. Instead, Lin Zichen's legs as he leaps high into the air over the classroom desks, launching a powerful intervention to protect his friend. Lin Zichen lands dramatically in front of the bullies, unleashing a powerful, intimidating aura that sweeps through the classroom like a shockwave. With the stakes rising, two of the bully children, their faces twisted in absolute terror and shock from Lin Zichen's overwhelming pressure. The classroom is filled with the terrified by Lin Zichen's display of power. A half-year time skip occurs. As pressure builds, Lin Zichen reading a book, surrounded by glowing mathematical and scientific formulas. A camera viewfinder captures a group photo of the children celebrating their kindergarten graduation at age 7. Instead, during the summer vacation before elementary school, Lin Zichen continues his intense physical training. Lin Zichen practices his jumping ability outdoors, leaping high into the air over a forest clearing. With the stakes rising, late at night, Lin Zichen sits at his desk in his bedroom, wearing headphones and focused on his computer screen. Meanwhile, an aerial view of Sunshine Elementary School in Shanghai City shows students walking into the modern school building on a bright morning. In the classroom, Lin Zichen patiently tutors Shen Qinghan. As pressure builds, Lin Zichen pats Shen Qinghan on the head as she happily shows off her test paper with a high score of. The teacher stands at the podium and announces the arrival of a new transfer student. A beautiful young girl with long silver-blue hair and a blue ribbon enters the classroom. Bai Shui's arrival captures the classroom's attention, but Xiao Chen notices something stranger than her appearance. As pressure builds, Bai Shui's arrival captures the classroom's attention, but Xiao Chen notices something stranger than her appearance. Her aura does not feel human, and that makes Xiao Chen watch her instead of joining the class gossip. A flashback styled like a camera recording screen shows classmates posing playfully for a photo. With the stakes rising, Bai Shui continues to sleep on her desk day after day. Then Bai Shui's body begins producing a foul white substance, turning a quiet mystery into a public nightmare. Then Bai Shui's body begins producing a foul white substance, turning a quiet mystery into a public nightmare. Instead, Guanchun turns Bai Shui's condition into public humiliation by dumping water over her desk and head, Bai Shui's face as she grits her teeth. With the stakes rising, Bai Shui breaks down, weeping openly at her desk. The mystery becomes cruelty when her classmates decide humiliation is easier than compassion. Xiao Chen steps forward with a determined and angry expression, agreeing to help. That is enough for Xiao Chen. He grabs Guanchun and forces the bullying to stop. Instead, Xiao Chen glares down at Guanchun with a terrifying, dark shadow over his eyes and a menacing smile. Terrified by Xiao Chen's intense aura, Guanchun stammers in fear and immediately agrees to clean the desk. With the stakes rising, Guanchun turns Bai Shui's condition into public humiliation by dumping water over her desk and head. Meanwhile, Xiao Chen stands protectively in front of Bai Shui, pointing a demanding finger at the rest of the classroom. 4 of the bullying classmates look absolutely terrified, sweating and trembling as they quickly shout their agreement to apologize. The group of classmates bows deeply in front of Bai Shui's desk, offering sincere apologies and promising never to bully her again. Instead, Bai Shui looks up with wide, tearful eyes, deeply touched and grateful. Shen Qinghan gently places a hand on Bai Shui's shoulder, smiling warmly as she drapes a jacket over her wet uniform. With the stakes rising, Shen Qinghan is the first person to treat Bai Shui normally, offering food instead of questions. Meanwhile, Bai Shui looks at her friends with a vulnerable and insecure expression, asking if they dislike her because of her bad smell. Bai Shui explains her insecurity, recalling a painful childhood memory shown in a dark silhouette where other children pointed, laughed, and excluded her. As pressure builds, Bai Shui looks up, surprised and comforted, as someone reassures her that this reality is not a dream. Instead, Shen Qinghan smiles warmly and affectionately at Bai Shui. A cheerful flashback, showing Xiao Chen and Shen Qinghan standing close together in their school uniforms, smiling warmly. With the stakes rising, Shen Qinghan reaches out and pulls Bai Shui into a warm, comforting hug. Meanwhile, Bai Shui crying tears of joy and relief. Bai Shui reaches behind her neck to untie a necklace. As pressure builds, Bai Shui holds out her hands, presenting a necklace made of 2 large beast fangs. Instead, Shen Qinghan happily accepts the beast fang necklace. The narrative shifts as a text box explains that just when Shen Qinghan thought their friendship would last forever, something unexpected happened. With the stakes rising, Xiao Chen confirms the news with a serious and solemn expression. A flashback shows Xiao Chen peeking through a door. Xiao Chen reflects on the event, realizing that Bai Shui's background and identity were far more complex than they appeared. The television screen in the living room broadcasts a major news report about a young prodigy from Kyoto who has successfully fused with Beast. Instead, Xiao Chen stares at the television screen in shock. Xiao Chen's father enters the room drying his hair with a towel. While his parents bicker in the background, Xiao Chen stands quietly, calculating his own strength. Meanwhile, Xiao Chen clenches his fist with confidence, feeling highly optimistic about his future potential. The television screen flashes a breaking news alert showing a city in ruins. The news explains that this world survives through cyborgs and gene fusers because mutant beasts are already hunting civilians. The broadcast showing a helpless woman trapped in the massive, razor-sharp claw of a giant mutant rat. A terrifying close-up of the mutant rat's fanged mouth snapping shut, splatters of blood, signaling a brutal and tragic end for the victim. At home, Xiao Chen weighs the threat outside against the strength he still lacks. A sudden sonic boom interrupts his thoughts before he can decide what to do. The broadcast reveals that cultists are guiding mutant beasts into civilian areas. Foreign officials beg for help, confirming that the attacks are spreading beyond one city. A sonic boom tears through the apartment, proving the danger outside has finally reached Xiao Chen's street. Meanwhile, government cyborgs flood the sky, confirming that the attack is serious enough to mobilize the city. Xiao Chen, dressed in his school uniform, waits on the sidewalk. As pressure builds, Han Han's beast fang suddenly glows, revealing the source of the non-human aura Xiao Chen has been tracking. Instead, Han Han's beast fang suddenly glows, revealing the source of the non-human aura Xiao Chen has been tracking. Xiao Chen and Han Han walk down a busy city street filled with pedestrians, including a cyborg with mechanical arms. As they walk, a tall, attractive woman with long red hair, wearing a revealing black dress and thigh-high stockings, stands leaning against a utility. The red-haired woman calls out to Xiao Chen and Han Han as they pass by, calling them a cute pair of kids. A red-haired stranger approaches with friendly questions, but her interest in Han Han's family feels far too deliberate. As pressure builds, Han Han cheerfully clarifies that they are not siblings, but rather best friends since childhood, while Xiao Chen remains quiet and observant. The red-haired woman smiles warmly, expressing her jealousy and wishing she had a childhood friend of her own. The woman's expression shifts to a slightly more probing look as she asks why they are walking to school alone without their parents. With the stakes rising, Han Han's expression falters, looking saddened and hesitant as she begins to answer the question about their parents. Meanwhile, Xiao Chen abruptly grabs Han Han's wrist, cutting off the conversation and signaling that it is time for them to leave. Xiao Chen pulls Han Han away by the hand, walking past the red-haired woman who watches them go with a knowing, mysterious smile. As they walk toward the school gates alongside other students, Xiao Chen sternly warns Han Han not to answer personal questions from strangers. Instead, Xiao Chen and Han Han walk down a narrow, deserted alleyway. Xiao Chen reassures Han Han, explaining that the neighborhood is quiet because the residents have already moved out ahead of next week's scheduled demolition. A low-angle shot shows a pair of black high heels stepping into the alley. The red-haired woman stands in the alley, holding a cigarette. Xiao Chen stands protectively in front of a startled Han Han. The red-haired woman tries to lure the children with a sweet, deceptive smile, offering them delicious food at her home. The muscular man lunges forward aggressively in the narrow alleyway, holding a white cloth. The muscular man charges directly at Xiao Chen and Han Han with a menacing roar. With the stakes rising, Xiao Chen reacts with incredible speed and determination, throwing a powerful, focused punch forward with a fierce expression. Meanwhile, Xiao Chen's punch connects directly with the muscular man's chest with immense force. The muscular man is sent flying backward through the air from the sheer force of the blow. A red-haired stranger approaches with friendly questions, but her interest in Han Han's family feels far too deliberate. Before the red-haired woman can recover from her shock, Xiao Chen closes the distance instantly and delivers a swift. Xiao Chen's strike connects solidly, sending the red-haired woman crashing hard onto the pavement. A close-up shot shows a hand picking up a heavy brick from the ground. Dark turn in Xiao Chen's tactical decision-making. Meanwhile, Xiao Chen walks forward holding the brick, his eyes shadowed with a dark, menacing intensity. The colossal mutant rat emerges fully into the alleyway, roaring menacingly with its mouth wide open, revealing rows of razor-sharp teeth and a long. As pressure builds, Xiao Chen stands protectively in front of as the giant mutant rat looms over the unconscious kidnappers. The giant mutant rat opens its massive jaws wide, preparing to swallow the unconscious red-haired woman whole. The mutant rat, possessing multiple eerie black eyes on its head, snaps its jaws shut, devouring its prey in a single swift motion. The giant mutant rat holds the muscular man in its claw, preparing to eat him next. Meanwhile, Xiao Chen quickly scoops Han Han up into his arms. Carrying Han Han securely in his arms, Xiao Chen sprints down the alleyway at full speed, desperate to find safety from the rampaging beast. The armored cyborg warrior hovers directly in front of the giant mutant rat, preparing to engage the beast. The cyborg warrior raises her arm cannon, which glows with bright golden energy as she charges up a powerful attack. The missiles detonate in a massive, fiery explosion that engulfs the mutant rat. A massive mutant rat monster roars in agony as a bright explosion erupts at its feet, sending shockwaves and debris upward. A close-up profile of the mutant rat monster showing its multiple red eyes, drooling jaws, and a dazed expression with stars swirling above it. A female warrior clad in red and white high-tech armor strikes the stunned mutant rat monster with a powerful, lightning-infused physical attack. Xiao Chen sits on his living room sofa, watching the news broadcast of the armored warriors' battle on television. With the stakes rising, Xiao Chen remains deep in thought, reflecting on the terrifying size and power of adult mutant rats. Meanwhile, determined to grow stronger, Xiao Chen performs heavy-weighted squats in his room. Time passes, and Xiao Chen celebrates his 9th birthday alongside his childhood friend, Shen Qinghan, and their families. As pressure builds, Shen Qinghan looks up with wide, sparkling pink eyes, holding her hands to her chest in pure delight. The system converts the result into another reward, giving Xiao Chen a clearer route to evolution. Xiao Chen sprints at extreme speed, kicking up dust and rocks. With the stakes rising, relaxing in his pajamas on the sofa the night before school starts, Xiao Chen eats an apple while watching television. The television broadcast shows the 14-year-old Kyoto prodigy, fused with giant ant genes, effortlessly lifting a massive 2,000 kilograms alloy block with a single. Xiao Chen smiles confidently as he finishes his apple. As pressure builds, Xiao Chen and Shen Qinghan walk together through the bustling campus of Shanghai Middle School on their first day. On registration day, the school principal and homeroom teachers warmly welcome Xiao Chen outside the principal's office, placing high expectations on him. Xiao Chen and Shen Qinghan head to the school's impressive sports facilities to play badminton. With the stakes rising, Shen Qinghan leaps into the air with agility, swinging her racket to execute a powerful, curved shot toward Xiao Chen. A hand suddenly reaches out and catches the high-speed shuttlecock mid-air with ease, interrupting the game. An arrogant upperclassman wearing a black cap and school jacket holds the caught shuttlecock and points his racket forward. As pressure builds, 2 other smug upperclassmen join in, condescendingly telling Shen Qinghan she can stay to play with them while ignoring Xiao Chen. Instead, Xiao Chen steps in front of Shen Qinghan, his aura darkening with intense irritation. The arrogant leader of the upperclassmen scoffs, pointing a thumb at himself and declaring that he is taking the court regardless of any rules. With the stakes rising, Xiao Chen leaps high into the air. With a fierce expression, Xiao Chen swings his racket down with explosive force, striking the shuttlecock with a powerful shockwave. The shuttlecock tears through the air at supersonic speed, leaving a massive trail of wind pressure behind it. The arrogant upperclassman is completely terrified as the shuttlecock blasts past his face. The upperclassmen sweat profusely and scream in absolute terror. The 3 arrogant upperclassmen bow deeply in absolute terror, apologizing profusely to Xiao Chen. A purple-haired girl leaps gracefully into the air to strike a shuttlecock with her badminton racket. Meanwhile, Xiao Chen sits calmly at his classroom desk, holding a book titled Encyclopedia of Fusion Stones. At night, Xiao Chen sits in front of his computer wearing headphones, typing rapidly on his keyboard. As pressure builds, Xiao Chen sits next to Shen Qinghan at a school desk, pointing at her paper to tutor her. Instead, Xiao Chen easily clears a high jump bar. Xiao Chen sprints down the track with incredible speed, leaving his competitors far behind in a blur of motion. With the stakes rising, back in the classroom, Xiao Chen walks outside the school gates alongside Han Han. As pressure builds, Xiao Chen asks Han Han if he can take a look at her beast fang necklace. Instead, Han Han hands over her beast fang necklace to Xiao Chen, placing the small white tooth pendant gently into his open palm. A massive, dark butterfly with glowing purple eyes manifests behind Xiao Chen as a system screen reveals it is an abyssal butterfly. With the stakes rising, later that night in his room, Xiao Chen sits at his computer desk. Meanwhile, Xiao Chen stares at his computer monitor, which displays a search engine showing 0 results for the abyssal butterfly. Xiao Chen pulls out a second beast fang necklace from his bag, remembering that Bai Shui had given him 2 of them previously. The system converts the result into another reward, giving Xiao Chen a clearer route to evolution. Instead, Xiao Chen looks at the fang in his hand. The next day after school, Xiao Chen rides a bicycle with Han Han sitting on the back rack. A muscular man in athletic wear introduces himself as Teacher Guo from the school's martial arts team. Meanwhile, Teacher Guo enthusiastically clenches his fist, inviting Xiao Chen to join the martial arts team. Teacher Guo continues his rapid-fire pitch, leaving Xiao Chen and Han Han stunned and unable to find a moment to decline before he waves goodbye. As pressure builds, Xiao Chen looks down at a squashed mosquito in his palm. Instead, Xiao Chen rides his bicycle through the city streets at sunset with Han Han holding onto his waist. Xiao Chen and Han Han arrive outside a large modern downtown market building named Mammoth PC. With the stakes rising, Xiao Chen holds a pre-packaged tray of meat. Meanwhile, Xiao Chen spots a butcher cutting raw, unprocessed beast meat at a counter labeled as safe to eat. Xiao Chen runs eagerly toward the butcher's counter, telling a confused Han Han to wait for him while he goes to touch the raw meat. As pressure builds, Xiao Chen runs eagerly toward the butcher's counter, leaving a confused Han Han behind in the background. Instead, Xiao Chen reaches out and places his bare hand directly onto the cold, raw slices of beast meat on the counter. As Xiao Chen touches the raw meat, a powerful surge of purple and white energy erupts from the meat and flows into his body. With the stakes rising, Xiao Chen pumps his fist in excitement while holding a piece of raw meat. Meanwhile, Han Han shows her sweating slightly, with a nervous, wide-eyed expression, as she tries to understand what is happening with Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen scratches his head sheepishly, explaining that the meat just feels fresher, and playfully asks Han Han if she wants to touch it too. As pressure builds, Xiao Chen turns and walks away from the counter with a smile. A small portrait of Xiao Chen next to his inner thoughts. The market display case shows various packaged beast meats with high price tags, including a purple ghost squid priced at 998 yen per jin. With the stakes rising, Xiao Chen picks up the packaged ghost squid from the display case and places it into his shopping basket. Meanwhile, Han Han looks extremely worried and sweat drops. Xiao Chen gently places his hand on Han Han's head to comfort her. As pressure builds, Xiao Chen looks down at Han Han with a warm smile. Instead, an imaginary insert shows Xiao Chen's mother, Aunt Xin, happily cooking in an apron, holding a ladle and a bowl. Xiao Chen stands at the checkout counter, holding up his smartphone to scan a payment code. The female cashier waves goodbye with a friendly smile as Xiao Chen and Han Han walk away from the counter. Meanwhile, Xiao Chen rides his bicycle through the dark city streets at night with Han Han sitting behind him. While riding, Xiao Chen looks down at the packaged ghost squid resting in the bicycle's front basket. As pressure builds, Xiao Chen places his fingers directly onto the purple skin of the ghost squid. Instead, Xiao Chen is enveloped in a brilliant aura of purple and white energy. The system converts the result into another reward, giving Xiao Chen a clearer route to evolution. Xiao Chen rides his bicycle while calculating the massive cost of fully unlocking his guidebook. As pressure builds, Xiao Chen visualizes the massive, terrifying ghost shadow squid in the ocean depths. Instead, Xiao Chen looks determined but worried as he rides. Xiao Chen's eyes widen in sudden realization as he remembers his experiment to see if absorbing life essence would spoil the beast meat. A close-up shot of the purple squid meat inside a plastic bag sitting in the bicycle's front basket. The system converts the result into another reward, giving Xiao Chen a clearer route to evolution. The purple-haired girl suddenly warns Xiao Chen to be careful as they approach an obstacle. As pressure builds, Xiao Chen and his companion witness a hostage situation. A large squad of armed security officers surrounds the criminal, demanding through a megaphone that he remain calm and drop his weapon. A seasoned security captain restrains a younger officer from shooting, explaining that the suspect is using the hostage as a shield. With the stakes rising, Xiao Chen rubs his head in embarrassment, realizing he was too focused on his system to watch the road. The security captain rejects the sleeping gas idea, sweating under the pressure as he worries it will provoke the suspect into a violent reaction. Xiao Chen quietly steps off his bicycle and picks up a small, sharp stone from the ground, preparing to intervene. With incredible speed and precision, Xiao Chen flicks the stone through the air, sending it flying past the startled security officers. The stone strikes the red-haired criminal's hand with immense force, causing him to scream in pain and drop his knife. Seeing the opening, the security captain commands his squad to charge forward and apprehend the disarmed suspect. The security officers tackle the red-haired criminal to the ground and handcuff him, while a female officer comforts the shaken teacher Cao Mei. The purple-haired girl asks Xiao Chen if he was the one who threw the rock. The security captain calls out to Xiao Chen, asking if he was the one who threw the stone. As pressure builds, Xiao Chen puts on a fake, sweating smile and waves his hand dismissively, denying any involvement in the heroic deed. Instead, Xiao Chen and the girl quickly flee on their bicycle. Hearing the word reward or prize money, Xiao Chen stops dead in his tracks, his eyes wide with sudden shock and intense interest. With the stakes rising, Xiao Chen performs a dramatic, smoking drift on his bicycle, instantly reversing direction to head back toward the captain. Before Xiao Chen can claim the reward, the pinned criminal suddenly undergoes a horrific mutation, transforming into a massive, monstrous rat beast. The giant mutant rat easily overpowers the officers, thrashing wildly and sending them flying with its massive tail and claws. The security captain barks orders into his radio for all forces to open fire on the mutant rat while ensuring civilian safety. Instead, security officers unleash a barrage of gunfire at the giant mutant rat, but the bullets spark harmlessly off its thick hide. Teacher Cao Mei clutches her chest in fear, cursing the desperate situation as the monster continues its rampage. With the stakes rising, Xiao Chen grabs the purple-haired girl by her waist, preparing to carry her away from the danger zone. Meanwhile, Xiao Chen runs at full speed down the street, carrying both Cao Mei and the purple-haired girl under his arms. Xiao Chen continues sprinting away, carrying both women. A flashback shows Xiao Chen talking to the security captain earlier, The flashback continues as the handcuffed criminal is escorted by security officers toward a police van. The flashback shows the moment things went wrong. With the stakes rising, back in the present, a high-tech armored female cyborg descends rapidly from the sky. The armored cyborg delivers a powerful, energy-infused kick directly to the face of the giant mutant rat beast, creating a massive shockwave. The force of the cyborg's attack slams the giant mutant rat beast hard into the paved street. As pressure builds, Xiao Chen watches the battle in absolute awe, sweating as he realizes just how incredibly powerful the cyborg is. The female cyborg stands firm as her chest armor opens up, charging a bright purple laser cannon aimed at the beast. The cyborg fires a massive, destructive beam of energy from her chest cannon, tearing through the street toward the target. The mutant rat beast screams in agony as its body is vaporized by the intense heat of the laser cannon. Meanwhile, Xiao Chen walks with his bicycle alongside Cao Mei and the purple-haired girl. Xiao Chen suddenly stops and looks down in surprise as he notices something unexpected in his bicycle basket. The purple beast tentacle meat is emitting foul-smelling smoke, indicating it has spoiled. Instead, Xiao Chen holds the shriveled, spoiled tentacle, realizing that absorbing its life essence causes the meat to rot after a short delay. Xiao Chen dramatically throws the spoiled meat to the ground, loudly blaming the heretic and the cyborg's attack for roasting it. With the stakes rising, Xiao Chen, Cao Mei, the charred, smoking remains of the mutant heretic lie on a gurney. Xiao Chen stares at the charred corpse, suddenly realizing that if the previous beast fang held life essence. Xiao Chen sits in the back of a transport vehicle alongside Han Han, a woman with glasses, and a security guard. As pressure builds, Xiao Chen secretly reaches out his hand, channeling a red, swirling energy to absorb the essence of the fallen heretic nearby. A sudden sonic boom interrupts his thoughts before he can decide what to do. The system converts the result into another reward, giving Xiao Chen a clearer route to evolution. The security guard notices Xiao Chen moving and tells him to sit still. The security captain questions Xiao Chen about his incredible precision. The security captain and Xiao Chen stare at each other in a tense, silent standoff. The door bursts open as Xiao Chen's mother arrives with Han Han and another man to take them home. Instead, Xiao Chen's mother rushes into the room, calling out his name in deep panic and worry. Xiao Chen's mother tightly embraces him, crying out that he scared her half to death. With the stakes rising, holding Xiao Chen's hand. Meanwhile, Xiao Chen looks at his mother with a softened. Xiao Chen promises his mother that he will protect himself first as they walk out of the office together. As Xiao Chen and Han Han walk down the hallway, they overhear two female security officers discussing how the rat god cult is getting bolder. The officers reveal that the heretic shot tonight was a brainwashed student from Guangyan University. Later, inside a vehicle, Xiao Chen researches the rat god cult on his phone. With the stakes rising, Xiao Chen stares intently at his glowing phone screen, deeply absorbed in the troubling information about the cult. A sudden sonic boom interrupts his thoughts before he can decide what to do. Xiao Chen learns that the Rat King wants to evolve into a higher life form. As pressure builds, Xiao Chen wonders if the Rat King has already developed human-like sentience, deeply concerned by the implications. Instead, looking out the window, Xiao Chen spots a massive rat on the street that is nearly the size of a cat. Xiao Chen brushes it off, rubbing his head and rationalizing that since they are in the south, large rats are not entirely unusual. With the stakes rising, Xiao Chen turns his attention back inside the car and notices that Han Han is unusually quiet. Meanwhile, Xiao Chen looks at Han Han's trembling knees and sweating legs, wondering if her childhood condition is acting up again. Xiao Chen recalls that whenever Han Han gets extremely nervous or startled, she suffers from an involuntary physical reaction. As pressure builds, Xiao Chen contemplates that this strange physiological reaction of Han Han's might actually be linked to some kind of powerful, unknown potential. Instead, back at home, Xiao Chen's mother opens the bags and screams in shock. Xiao Chen nervously scratches his head, lying that in the chaos of the emergency, his mother quickly lets it go, placing a hand on his shoulder and saying that his safety is the only thing that truly matters. Meanwhile, Xiao Chen sighs in relief, glad that he managed to successfully fool his mother and keep his secret safe. Xiao Chen tries to stop his father from going back outside to look for the lost meat, warning him that it is too dangerous. As pressure builds, inside a dimly lit office filled with bookshelves and desks, a muscular investigator in a tactical vest stands smoking a cigarette. The investigator's thoughts are abruptly cut short as his eyes widen in sudden shock and alarm. The giant mutated rat leaps down from the cabinet with incredible speed. With the stakes rising, reacting instantly, the investigator draws his handgun and fires multiple rounds at the lunging beast. A sharp diagonal slash of dark red blood splatters across a stark white background, violent hit, and concluding the sudden office ambush. A vibrant purple-haired girl with twin tails sits playfully on a wooden structure, winking and gesturing with a peace sign. As pressure builds, inside a quiet classroom, Several students in blue and white school uniforms are sitting at their desks, focused on their work. Instead, Zikin contemplates his current strength compared to the powerful adversaries he faced recently, like the Ratman and the female cyborg. Zichen imagines himself as a flashy student influencer live-streaming tutoring sessions to make quick cash. With the stakes rising, Zikin's eyes widen in sudden realization as a much better idea strikes him, shifting his focus away from academic-based income. The tournament gives Zikin a public stage, and his first opponent mistakes his calm for weakness. Where a group of students in blue athletic uniforms are lined up on the basketball court, facing their coach. As pressure builds, Zikin approaches Coach Guo in the gymnasium, waving politely and greeting him with a bright, friendly smile. Instead, Coach Guo looks pleasantly surprised to see Zichen and asks if he is there to join the martial arts team or simply learn. The tournament gives Zikin a public stage, and his first opponent mistakes his calm for weakness. With the stakes rising, Coach Guo smiles confidently and raises a finger. Meanwhile, hearing about the high prize money, Zichen immediately shakes hands with Coach Guo. Coach Guo raises his hand and calls out loudly to the rest of the team, gathering everyone together to introduce their newest member. As pressure builds, Coach Guo introduces Zikin to the team, highlighting his reputation as the Grand Slam champion of the school sports meet. A group of athletic students in blue and white uniforms stand together on the court. Zichen stands respectfully before the coach and his new teammates, introducing himself and asking them to take good care of him. With the stakes rising, since Zikin has never trained in martial arts before, Coach Guo begins by demonstrating the fundamental fist and leg techniques. Meanwhile, Coach Guo wipes sweat from his forehead, explaining that while the basics look simple, they are actually quite difficult to master. Zikin steps forward onto the court, raising his arms and lifting one leg to mirror the starting stance Coach Guo demonstrated. As Zikin prepares to strike, his system activates, granting him heaven-sent martial insight. Instead, Zichen unleashes a rapid flurry of punches, his hands moving so fast they create a fan of afterimages. Zichen seamlessly transitions from his punches into a series of dynamic, high-flying kicks, executing the movements with flawless form and incredible speed. With the stakes rising, Zichen performs a powerful, fully extended high kick, his body perfectly balanced as he completes the sequence of basic techniques. Meanwhile, Zichen finishes his routine with a sweeping spin kick. Coach Guo stands completely frozen in absolute shock, his mouth wide open and his eyes bulging as he stares at Zichen's flawless performance. The entire martial arts team stands in stunned silence behind Coach Guo. Instead, Coach Guo's eye, wide with shock, reflecting the tiny of Zichen executing a high kick. Inside a brightly lit kitchen, a beautiful woman with long teal hair, wearing a black dress and a white open shirt. With the stakes rising, Zichen, wearing a blue and white tracksuit, slides excitedly into the room holding a bowl and spoon. Meanwhile, Zichen's mother smiles warmly as she presents a large, steaming plate of cooked ghost shadow squid. Zichen closes his eyes in pure bliss, inhaling the delicious aroma rising from the plate of food. As pressure builds, Zichen taking a bite of the food with a spoon, expressing his delight with a satisfied sound. Instead, Zichen's mother leans forward slightly, looking at him with a gentle, expectant smile as she asks how the food tastes. Zichen enthusiastically praises his mother's cooking as the best on earth. The system converts the result into another reward, giving Xiao Chen a clearer route to evolution. The news explains that this world survives through cyborgs and gene fusers because mutant beasts are already hunting civilians. As pressure builds, Zichen rests his chin on his hand, looking thoughtful as he ponders whether gene fusion users or cyborgs are stronger. The news explains that this world survives through cyborgs and gene fusers because mutant beasts are already hunting civilians. Zichen's eyes widen in shock and concern as he connects the news report to the giant rats he encountered the previous night. With the stakes rising, determined to protect himself and others, Zichen resolves to intensify his training. Meanwhile, Zichen sprinting at incredible speed down an empty street, his movements creating a powerful wind pressure around him. Zichen leaps high into the air over buildings. As pressure builds, Zichen practices his martial arts kicks and punches in an open grassy field under the night sky. The next morning, Zichen walks back to the gym to continue his studies. A pink-haired girl in a school uniform approaches Zichen warmly, asking if he has eaten breakfast yet. The pink-haired girl smiles sweetly as she holds out a fresh bottle of milk, offering it to Zichen. Meanwhile, Zichen politely declines the offer as he continues walking with Han, leaving the pink-haired girl standing behind them looking disappointed. A brown-haired male student watches from a distance, clenching his fist in anger. The angry student steps forward and loudly calls out to Zichen to stop, blocking his path. The student confronts Zichen, accusing him of being rude and disrespectful for rejecting the milk. The student points aggressively at Zichen, challenging him to a spar. The system converts the result into another reward, giving Xiao Chen a clearer route to evolution. Meanwhile, Zichen accepts the challenge, a powerful purple aura of energy swirling around him as he prepares to fight. Two female students in blue and white school athletic uniforms are excited about an upcoming duel. The purple-haired girl with a high ponytail blushes and cheers enthusiastically from the crowd. The pink-haired girl smiles and holds up her smartphone, ready to take photos of the match. Zhang Kai, a brown-haired senior student, looks highly irritated and annoyed by the crowd's assumption that he is going to lose to a junior. With the stakes rising, Zhang Kai smirks arrogantly as he stretches his hand forward. Meanwhile, Zikin calmly asks if they can finish the match quickly because he needs to go home for dinner. The referee, a muscular man in a brown hoodie, raises his hand high to signal the start of the sparring match. As pressure builds, Zhang Kai suddenly shouts out to halt the match just as it is about to begin, looking intense. Instead, Zhang Kai smugly offers Zichen a handicap, holding up 3 fingers to show he will let the junior have the first 3 moves. Zichen moves with blinding speed, launching himself forward in a blur. The impact of Zichen's punch hits Zhang Kai squarely in the face, sending him flying backward with blood spraying from his mouth. Meanwhile, Zhang Kai crashes flat onto his back on the gym floor, completely knocked out with a trail of smoke escaping his mouth. The referee's jaw drops in absolute shock as he stares at the defeated senior on the floor. The crowd of senior students stands in stunned silence, their faces pale and eyes wide with disbelief at how quickly the match ended. A girl with long purple hair tied in twin braids cheers excitedly, raising her fist in victory. The pink-haired and purple-haired girls jump and cheer happily, celebrating Zichen's overwhelming victory. The system converts the result into another reward, giving Xiao Chen a clearer route to evolution. Meanwhile, Zichen scratches his head with a polite, friendly smile, suggesting that the other senior brothers should spar with him as well. The group of senior students is completely terrified by Zichen's invitation, sweating profusely with horrified expressions. The terrified seniors immediately turn around and start making up various excuses to leave the gym as quickly as possible. Instead, Zhang Kai struggles to push himself up from the floor, clutching his stomach in pain while angrily claiming he was caught off guard. The referee stands over Zhang Kai with his arms crossed, telling him to accept his defeat, while secretly wondering if Zichen's strength is genuine. A brown-haired senior student named Xiao Lizi is suddenly called upon by the referee, turning around in absolute panic. Meanwhile, Xiao Lizi reluctantly steps forward, raising his fists in a defensive stance while desperately begging Zichen to go easy on him. 10 minutes later, several senior students are shown lying defeated and exhausted on the gym floor. The system converts the result into another reward, giving Xiao Chen a clearer route to evolution. The referee grabs Zichen by the shoulders with a wide, slightly intense grin. The tournament gives Zichen a public stage, and his first opponent mistakes his calm for weakness. With the stakes rising, Zichen looks up with a sudden realization. Meanwhile, Zichen places a hand on his chin, deep in thought. Zichen's train of thought is abruptly interrupted as someone calls out his full name, Lin Zichen, from across the gym. As pressure builds, Zhang Kai stands in the middle of the gym, pointing dramatically at Zichen. A multi-reaction shot shows the extreme shock and disgust of everyone in the gym. Unable to handle the sheer awkwardness of Zhang Kai's statement, Zichen, Qinghan, the referee, with the stakes rising, transitions with a view of the blue sky and clouds. On an outdoor running track, Qinghan runs enthusiastically behind Zichen. Qinghan practicing her martial arts forms, she executes a high kick and a low, sweeping stance with great focus. As pressure builds, Qinghan continues her rigorous training routine inside the gym. After their intense workout session, Zichen helps Qinghan stretch on the gym floor. The system converts the result into another reward, giving Xiao Chen a clearer route to evolution. The tournament gives Zichen a public stage, and his first opponent mistakes his calm for weakness. In the contestant waiting area, a coach with short dark hair looks at a document with a worried expression. The Shanghai High team members look discouraged. Instead, Zichen, a calm and confident young man with messy green hair wearing a blue and white Shanghai High tracksuit. The coach agrees to Zichen's request, sending him out first. With the stakes rising, Zichen stretches his shoulders as he walks onto the arena floor. Meanwhile, Zichen's opponent is a massive, muscular fighter who towers over him. The giant opponent smiles mockingly down at Zichen. The giant opponent flexes his massive bicep, boasting that he will show Zichen the true gap in size and power between them. The referee stands between Zichen and the giant opponent in the center of the brightly lit arena, officially announcing the start of the duel. As soon as the match begins, the giant opponent charges forward with immense speed and force, aiming a powerful punch directly at Zichen. To the giant's utter shock, Zichen effortlessly dodges the massive punch with a slight tilt of his body. Meanwhile, Zichen swiftly counters by placing his palm flat against the giant's chest. The force of Zichen's palm strike sends the giant opponent flying backward across the arena. The referee, looking completely stunned and sweating, raises his hand and stammers out the announcement of Zichen's sudden and overwhelming victory. In the stands, the pink-haired girl cheers ecstatically, raising her fist in celebration of Zichen's amazing performance. The Shanghai High team members erupt in wild celebration, shouting in disbelief at Zichen's insane strength and mocking the defeated giant as having nothing. On the opposing side, the rival coach furiously berates his defeated giant fighter, yelling at him for charging in headfirst without using proper footwork. The system converts the result into another reward, giving Xiao Chen a clearer route to evolution. The rival coach turns to his next fighter, Chen Feng. As pressure builds, Chen Feng steps onto the arena stage, taking a solid martial arts stance. As the match begins, Chen Feng moves with incredible speed, leaving afterimages as he charges toward Zichen. Chen Feng unleashes a swift kick, but Zichen easily dodges it by leaning back. The force of Zichen's counterkick sends Chen Feng spinning wildly through the air, completely disoriented and unable to recover his balance. Meanwhile, medical staff rush onto the stage with a stretcher. The spectators in the stands are in complete disbelief, whispering that Zichen must be insanely lucky or blessed by the heavens. As pressure builds, however, the rival coach clutches his head in sheer terror and sweat. The rival coach, sweating and visibly panicked, points forward and commands Gao Fei to step up next. Gao Fei confidently walks down the steps toward the arena with his hands in his pockets. With the stakes rising, Gao Fei strikes a dramatic martial arts pose on the arena stage, underestimating Zichen. In the spectator stands, the audience eagerly discusses Gao Fei's incredible physical stats. As soon as the match begins, Gao Fei lunges forward with a smug grin, aiming a swift strike at Zichen. As pressure builds, Gao Fei unleashes his signature technique, the flowing water-shattering rock fist, sending a rapid barrage of punches toward Zichen. From the sidelines, the rival coach screams in frustration and anger. Gao Fei ignores his coach's warnings, arrogantly declaring that a genius like him has no need for defense. With the stakes rising, Gao Fei grows increasingly frustrated and sweaty as he continues his relentless assault. Meanwhile, Gao Fei backs away, panting and bewildered, demanding to know how Zichen is dodging all of his attacks. Enraged by Zichen's blatant taunt, Gao Fei loses his temper completely and unleashes an even more frantic, overwhelming barrage of punches, screaming in fury. As pressure builds, seeing that Gao Fei is still relying on the same repetitive moves, Zichen decides to end the match. The Shanghai High supporters erupt into wild cheers, celebrating Zichen's third consecutive victory. Zichen stands triumphantly on the arena stage with his fist raised, looking down at his defeated opponent who lies unconscious on the floor. With the stakes rising, Zichen stands calmly in the foreground as another defeated opponent lies sprawled out on the floor behind him. A montage shows Zichen single-handedly defeating opponents from 2 more schools over the next 2 days. The tournament gives Zichen a public stage, and his first opponent mistakes his calm for weakness. The system converts the result into another reward, giving Xiao Chen a clearer route to evolution. Instead, Coach Guo happily hands Zichen a thick stack of prize money, totaling 20,000 yuan. Zichen celebrates his accumulated savings of 30,000 yuan, posing triumphantly with his cash, trophies, and academic certificates floating in the background. With the stakes rising, Zichen hands over his stack of cash to a store clerk to purchase expensive ghost shadow squid tentacles. The system converts the result into another reward, giving Xiao Chen a clearer route to evolution. By his second year of middle school, Zichen has broken through to Tier 4 Ordinary. A graduation photo of Zichen and Qinghan standing close together in front of the school, marking their successful graduation from Shanghai's middle school division. Instead, inside a room, Qinghan sits on her bed holding her exam results, looking incredibly sad. Zichen gently comforts the crying Qinghan, wiping away her tears. With the stakes rising, Qinghan, with tears streaming down her face, tearfully declines. Meanwhile, Zichen takes Qinghan by the hand and leads her out of the room. His mother and his childhood friend Qinghan are sitting around a table with a female guest. The principal of Shanghai High, a well-dressed woman in a white blazer and dark skirt, smiles warmly as she prepares to leave. The principal turns back at the doorway, offering Zichen a final generous condition, as long as he agrees to stay at Shanghai High. Zichen places a hand on Qinghan's shoulder and makes his single request. He wants Qinghan to continue being in the same class with him. The principal smiles and waves goodbye, happily granting the request and telling them both to report to Shanghai High together when school starts. Meanwhile, Zichen and Qinghan bow slightly and call out their enthusiastic thanks to the departing principal, both looking relieved and excited. The tournament gives Zichen a public stage, and his first opponent mistakes his calm for weakness. The system converts the result into another reward, giving Xiao Chen a clearer route to evolution. Instead, Zichen begins devouring the purple mutant squid meat. Zichen's face as his eyes glow with blue energy. The system screen updates to show the Ghost Shadow Squid Codex has reached 100%. The system converts the result into another reward, giving Xiao Chen a clearer route to evolution. The energy fades, leaving Zichen standing in the forest holding 2 leftover purple tentacles. Zikin tests his new ability by diving into a nearby pond. As pressure builds, Zikin surfaces from the pond, rationalizing that the ghost shadow squid is only a low-tier mutant beast. Instead, Zikin clenches his fist, thinking that he could also wait until he is strong enough to hunt wild mutant beasts himself, followed by their families. With the stakes rising, Zikin suggested the beach trip to further study his new liquid affinity. With the stakes rising, Qinghan stands in the shallow seawater wearing a black and white swimsuit. Meanwhile, Zichen dives effortlessly into the deep blue water, telling Qinghan she will get used to it. Qinghan stands in the water, calling out to Zichen to stop swimming on his own and teach her how to swim instead. As pressure builds, Zichen begins patiently teaching Qinghan the basic swimming movements in the shallow water. To Zichen's absolute shock, Qinghan immediately glides through the water with perfect form, happily calling out that swimming is incredibly easy. Underwater, Qinghan opens her eyes and looks around in surprise, realizing she can dive effortlessly without any discomfort. With the stakes rising? Huh? With the stakes rising, Qinghan excitedly tells Zichen that her eyes do not sting at all in the salt water and that the ocean feels. Meanwhile, Zichen watches Qinghan swim away, deeply analytical. He knows that even with natural talent, mastering all swimming skills instantly is completely abnormal. A sudden realization hits Zichen. As pressure builds, Zichen is completely stunned as he looks up, imagining Qinghan as a powerful, divine cultivation goddess holding a spear. A close-up shot of Zichen's toned, muscular upper body as he stands in the water, clenching his fists in determination. Zichen and Qinghan continue diving deeper into the clear blue ocean, surrounded by schools of colorful fish, jellyfish, and vibrant coral reefs. With the stakes rising, Qinghan swims gracefully underwater, holding a small fish in her hand with a playful expression. Meanwhile, Qinghan underwater as she suddenly stops, her eyes wide with surprise and her cheeks puffed out as she hears something unusual. Qinghan floats alone in a dark, swirling underwater vortex, looking startled as a strange, echoing sound reverberates through the deep water. As pressure builds, Qinghan swims rapidly upward toward the surface in a panic, with Zichen following closely behind her. Instead, Qinghan bursts through the surface of the water, gasping for air in a panic. Zichen and Qinghan walk along the sandy beach at night, with the lighthouse and resort buildings visible in the background. With the stakes rising, Qinghan stands shivering on the beach, hugging herself tightly. Meanwhile, Zichen holds Qinghan gently by the shoulders to comfort her as she leans against him. Back in the hotel room, a shirtless Zichen searches on his smartphone, trying to find any online information matching the strange voice Qinghan described. As pressure builds, unable to sleep, Zichen decides to train in his room. Instead, Zichen realizes that reaching ordinary Tier 5 means he can now rival adult giant mutant rats. Zichen heads down to the empty beach at night to test his newly enhanced physical attributes, sprinting forward with incredible speed. With the stakes rising, Zichen leaps high into the night sky, soaring far above the tops of the palm trees. Meanwhile, Zichen effortlessly lifts a heavy off-road vehicle weighing around 1,600 kilograms high above his head with just one hand. With his training progress secured, Zichen and Qinghan walk together through the school gates in their high school uniforms. As pressure builds, two female classmates holding brooms gossip excitedly in the classroom. The system converts the result into another reward, giving Xiao Chen a clearer route to evolution. An exterior shot of a modern city street at dusk, showing the entrance to the mammoth supermarket, where Zichen decides to stop by. With the stakes rising, Zichen walks through the brightly lit meat section of the supermarket. Meanwhile, Zichen's face as his eyes widen in sudden shock and realization at something he spots in the display case. Zichen stares at a packaged, frozen claw labeled as Savage Giant Eagle Meat, priced at 1,998 per jin. Realizing this is the perfect candidate, as pressure builds, Zichen smiles confidently with a determined gleam in his eyes, holding the packaged Savage Giant Eagle Meat and declaring his choice. A majestic blue-feathered savage giant eagle glides gracefully over a dense, dark forest canopy. The savage giant eagle swoops down with its massive blue wings spread wide, effortlessly snatching a glowing, shadow-like mutant rabbit in its sharp talons. In his room, Zichen sits at his desk holding a tray containing a dark, clawed piece of mutant beast meat. Zichen devours a piece of the savage giant eagle meat. With the stakes rising, Zichen stands with blue energy swirling around him. Meanwhile, 4 instructors stand at the front of the classroom, introducing themselves to the new students. A cheerful girl with long purple hair and a school uniform introduces herself to the class, flashing double peace signs with a bright smile. A girl with short pink hair and a school uniform introduces herself, smiling warmly with one hand near her face. A boy with messy gray hair and a school jacket introduces himself enthusiastically, leaning forward against his desk. Qinghan stands up at her desk to introduce herself. With the stakes rising, Qinghan blushes deeply, waving her hand nervously as she stammers through her introduction. Meanwhile, Zikin stands up at his desk to give a very brief and straightforward introduction, keeping it simple and direct. After the introductions finish, the school bell rings. A classmate approaches Qinghan, asking about her entrance exam score, catching her by surprise. A girl with light brown hair and twin tails and a stylish dress stands before Qinghan, waiting curiously for her response. Instead, Qinghan nervously reveals her high score of 709 to Chushin, smiling sheepishly as she asks for Chushin's score in return. Chushin reacts with wide, excited eyes, clenching her fists in admiration of Qinghan's superior score. With the stakes rising, Chushin continues the conversation, eagerly asking Qinghan about her physical test score while mentioning her own score of 95. Meanwhile, Qinghan looks down in extreme embarrassment and sweat. Chushin leans in closer, enthusiastically pressing Qinghan to reveal her exact physical test score. As pressure builds, Qinghan averts her eyes. Instead, Chushin keeps guessing lower numbers, completely unaware of Qinghan's growing distress and discomfort. Suddenly, a hand slams down hard on the desk, startling Chushin and interrupting her relentless questioning. With the stakes rising, Zichen leans over the desk, holding out his phone to Chuxin and smoothly asking to add her on WeChat. Meanwhile, Qinghan watches with immense relief as Zichen successfully distracts Chushin, saving her from the awkward interrogation. Another male classmate, He Yu, joins in and asks to exchange contacts as well. The system converts the result into another reward, giving Xiao Chen a clearer route to evolution. A flashback shows He Yu performing a martial arts stance in a traditional training hall. A flashback shows Chuxin posing stylishly in front of a clothing store. With the stakes rising, back in the classroom, the four classmates gather together, chatting happily. He Yu leans forward with a curious expression. Chushin smiles brightly and gestures with her hand. He Yu reacts with wide-eyed shock and disbelief upon hearing about Zikin's incredible academic achievement, looking directly at him. He Yu's expression turns serious and slightly tense as he explains that being the top scorer might not be enough. A flashback shows Wang Shujie, a lean young man with messy light brown hair, sprinting incredibly fast on a school running track. A flashback shows Lu Gang, a muscular young man, easily lifting a massive dumbbell high above his head with one hand. Meanwhile, Qinghan and Chushin react with awe and shock to the news, while Zichen looks completely calm and sweat drops. 4 textbooks are neatly arranged on a classroom desk, representing the core subjects: martial arts cultivation, gene fusion, mechanical augmentation. As pressure builds, Zichen runs at high speed through a lush green forest path during his free time. Instead, Zichen throws a powerful punch forward with a determined expression. In a sunny forest clearing, a rugged male teacher stands before the gathered students. He Yu looks skeptical and sweat drops, commenting that nobody would waste their free time learning such a useless survival skill. To everyone's shock, Wang Shujie and Lu Gang are already kneeling on the ground. The survival teacher looks completely flabbergasted and wide-eyed, staring in disbelief at the 2 students who already mastered the technique. As pressure builds, Wang Shujie smugly explains he took an extracurricular course, while Lu Gang casually mentions he learned it online during elementary school. Instead, Zichen kneels and easily demonstrates the fire-starting technique to his Dawn Squad friends, who watch him with admiration and encouragement. A muscular physical education teacher stands on the school sports field, announcing that he will teach the class a special breathing cultivation technique. With the stakes rising, Wang Shujie and Lu Gang sit cross-legged on the grass, demonstrating perfect breathing forms with visible energy flow. His father studies the evidence and reaches the wrong conclusion for the right reason. Zichen sits at his desk, highly motivated by the cash prize. The classroom shows all the students focused and writing diligently on their exam papers, highly motivated by the rewards. Instead, where the teacher, Lu Darren, stands at the front holding a clipboard, conducting a similarly difficult test. He Yu collapses onto his desk in complete exhaustion, crying tears of relief and frustration after finally finishing the incredibly difficult exam. A male classmate with spiky red hair complains about the extreme difficulty of the test, specifically mentioning a niche question about laser cannon wavelengths. A female classmate with brown hair expresses her frustration, agreeing that the exam questions were ridiculously niche and unfair. A male classmate with dark blue hair sweat drops as he describes a highly complex essay question requiring precise decimal calculations for jet devices. As pressure builds, Qinghan sighs with a defeated expression. While the rest of the class laments, Wang Shujie and Lu Gang lean against the classroom window. He Yu glares with intense irritation and clenches his fist. In a classroom setting, a male teacher wearing glasses and a white lab coat stands at the front of the room holding a clipboard. As pressure builds, Shen Qinghan, a girl with purple hair styled in twin tails, turns around excitedly to tell Xiao Chen that she passed. The classroom erupts in admiration for He Yu's high score. He Yu, a boy with a buzz cut, smiles smugly with his arms crossed as white doves and feathers float around him in a The teacher raises his finger with a smile, announcing the next top scores. Meanwhile, Wang Shuje, a boy with messy blonde hair, confidently explains that the last question required too many calculations. Yu's face tenses up in frustration and jealousy. The teacher smiles and announces a shocking twist, despite the high difficulty of the test. Instead, Wang Shuji and Lu Gang are completely dumbfounded, their eyes wide and mouths agape in sheer disbelief. The classroom is filled with chatter as students discuss how Lin Zichen defeated the two academic stars from Nangguan City. With the stakes rising, Xiao Chen, who is actually Lin Zichen, raises his hand casually in class. Meanwhile, Teacher Kai holds up his smartphone and reassures Zichen that he will send the prize money to the class group chat as a... The narrator explains that the Nangguan duo scored well, with Lu Gang getting 81 and Wang Shuje getting 83. The narrator notes that Shen Qinghan scored 78 points, placing her in the top 5. The narrator reveals that Lin Zichen steadily secured full marks once again, pocketing another prize. Wang Shuji and Lu Gang stand up at their desks, raising their hands in protest. The teacher with glasses frowns deeply, his eyes narrowing behind his lenses as he immediately shuts down the cheating accusation, declaring it absolutely impossible. The teacher explains that he designed all the questions himself and the answers are not online, making cheating impossible. The rest of the class laughs at the Nangguan duo. In a forest clearing, a rugged male instructor with a beard explains the rules of the wilderness survival exam. Instead, Wang Shuje and Lu Gang stand side by side in the forest, looking determined. Lu Gang pumps his fist with a dark, intense aura surrounding him. The exam begins with the climbing portion. Meanwhile, Zichen easily climbs a massive tree trunk, leaving his competitors in the dust. Zichen notes that he is more concerned about Shen Qinghan's performance. As pressure builds, Zichen believes Qinghan will regain her confidence during the swimming segment. Instead, during the final swimming portion, Zichen leads the pack, but Shen Qinghan suddenly explodes in performance, swimming rapidly and crushing the Nangguan duo. After the wilderness survival exam concludes, Wang Shuje and Lu Gang sit slumped against a wall, completely exhausted, defeated, and silent. With the stakes rising, Han Yuanfeng stands before a large group of students lined up in neat rows on a gymnasium floor. Meanwhile, Wang Shuje and Lu Gang are shown with burning, fiery determination in their eyes. Instructor Han Yuanfeng explains that before the sparring begins, everyone must complete a physical warm-up test. As pressure builds, Zichen easily dominates all 3 physical tests. Instead, Wang Shuje and Lu Gang are completely shocked and horrified by Zichen's physical test results. Wang Shuje grabs Lu Gang by the collar, trying to calm him down. With the stakes rising, which features 2 elevated sparring rings. Meanwhile, Zichen stands confidently in the center of the sparring ring, looking down at his classmates. Seeing that the students are hesitant and dragging things out, instructor Han Yuanfeng grows impatient. As pressure builds, Lu Wei and Zichen face each other inside the sparring ring, taking their combat stances. Instead, Zichen decides to end the match as quickly as possible to save time. Zichen continues his rapid onslaught, speed running through every opponent who steps into the ring. With the stakes rising, Wang Shuji and Lu Gang watch from the sidelines in absolute horror. Meanwhile, Wang Shuji suddenly leaps over the ropes and onto the sparring platform, shouting Lu Gang's name to get his attention. Wang Shuje points his finger directly at Lu Gang, challenging him to step up and fight. As pressure builds, Wang Shuje boasts that he will flatten Lu Gang in 30 seconds. Instead, Lu Gang accepts the challenge with a fierce expression, shouting for Wang Shuje to bring it on as he charges forward. The 2 boys clash in a flurry of rapid punches and kicks. With the stakes rising, Lu Gang delivers a high kick, but Wang Shuje blocks it with his arm. Meanwhile, Wang Shuji seizes Lu Gang's leg mid-kick and swings him around in a powerful spinning throw, utilizing his superior physical strength. Wang Shuji slams Lu Gang hard onto the floor of the ring, ending the brief clash with a decisive takedown. As pressure builds, Lu Gang clutches his stomach and vomits from the sheer force of the impact, completely defeated and unable to continue. Instead, Wang Shuji looks down at the defeated Lu Gang. Wang Shuji turns his attention back to Zichen, who is standing in the adjacent ring. With the stakes rising, Wang Shuje pumps himself up. Meanwhile, Wang Shuji charges at Zichen with a powerful punch, shouting for him to take the hit. Zichen easily dodges the punch by tilting his body backward, leaving Wang Shuje's fist striking empty air as Zichen's movements remain fluid and effortless. As pressure builds, Zichen instantly counters by appearing behind Wang Shuje. Instead, Shuje is shocked by Zichen's ridiculous speed, unable to react in time. With a single, powerful strike, Zichen sends Wang Shuje flying out of the ring, crashing hard onto the gym floor. A group of students in the gym stands together, shouting encouragement and pressure toward Wang Shuji. With the stakes rising, Wang Shuje, seen from behind with his signature messy green hair, stands at the edge of the ring. A dramatic split perspective shows Zichen standing tall and imposing in the upper half of the frame, looking down with a calm, serious expression. A brown-haired student in a blue athletic uniform charges forward on a red-carpeted stage, shouting that he is going all out. As pressure builds, Zichen effortlessly catches the brown-haired student's incoming fist with his bare hand. With a swift and powerful countermaneuver, Zichen flips the brown-haired student upside down, slamming him toward the floor of the arena. The brown-haired student crashes hard onto the stone floor on his back, coughing up a cloud of white dust, completely defeated and dazed. With the stakes rising, Zichen systematically defeats the other male students in Class 1. Meanwhile, Zichen stands calmly with his hands out as another male classmate is sent flying upside down, landing face first onto the gym floor. The system converts the result into another reward, giving Xiao Chen a clearer route to evolution. As pressure builds, Zichen stands thoughtfully in the gymnasium with a blue, holographic screen floating above his head. A group of female classmates stand together, blushing deeply and looking at Zichen with admiration and excitement. A purple-haired female classmate enthusiastically raises her hand, shouting that she wants to challenge Zichen to a match. With the stakes rising, the purple-haired girl leaps gracefully through the air toward Zichen, reaching out her hand with a bright, confident smile. Meanwhile, Zichen moves with incredible speed, leaving after-images as he easily dodges the purple-haired girl's strike and taps her back to signal her defeat. The purple-haired girl lands gracefully against the wall, looking back at Zichen with a playful, slightly disappointed expression. A pink-haired female classmate steps up next, but Zichen easily taps her shoulder to defeat her as well, maintaining his calm demeanor. The system converts the result into another reward, giving Xiao Chen a clearer route to evolution. The instructor, Han Yuanfeng, stands before the class and announces that in 1 month, the students of Class 1 listen intently from behind as the instructor reiterates that their goal is to break through the strongest regular class. Meanwhile, Zichen smiles confidently. As the class is dismissed, a large student named Lu Gang walks past Zichen. The brown-haired student from the first match glares at Zichen, vowing to wash away his humiliation before graduation. Instead, Zichen walks away with a satisfied smile, leaving Lu Gang and the brown-haired student fuming in the background. Zichen's hands typing rapidly on a computer keyboard in his room, trying to find a way to earn more money. With the stakes rising, Zichen sits at his desk in light blue pajamas, typing on his keyboard. A notification pops up on Zichen's screen from an editor at the UN platform, inviting him to sign a contract and serialize his novel. Zichen wakes up and looks at his smartphone in surprise, finding the contract invitation waiting for him. After signing the contract, Zichen browses the news on his phone and spots a shocking report about a giant mutant rat attacking a cold. The news article details the terrifying power of the mutant rat. The article explains that the defeated cyborg immediately activated its hidden backup energy core to self-destruct, aiming to take the monster down with it. A massive, blinding explosion of yellow and orange energy erupts, completely destroying the giant mutant rat on the spot. Meanwhile, Zichen stares in shock and concern at his phone screen. Text bubbles outline the strategy for the upcoming sparring session between the elite students and the regular class of the second year. As pressure builds, teacher Yuanfeng stands on an elevated platform, addressing a group of 4 elite students, including Zichen, who are listening attentively. Zichen steps onto the sparring ring, looking determined. A blonde female student from the opposing team stands in the ring. The opposing class teacher confronts Yuanfeng, complaining that sending the strongest student first violates the unspoken rules of class sparring. Yuanfeng points at Zichen and commands him to step down from the ring so that the weaker classmates can go first. Instead, Yuanfeng points to a pink-haired girl named Yuntong, telling her to go first. A purple-haired girl with long twin braids steps forward nervously. Meanwhile, students from the crowd cheer loudly for the purple-haired girl, calling her Han Hang and encouraging her to win the match. Han Hang showing her sweating and squeezing her eyes shut in extreme nervousness, feeling even more pressured by the crowd's cheers. The blonde opponent launches a fast, aggressive flying kick toward Han Hang, who braces herself for the impact. The blonde opponent unleashes a rapid flurry of punches, while Han Hang covers her head defensively, desperately trying to block the onslaught. Han Hang grits her teeth under the heavy guard, thinking that even though she cannot win. 3 minutes later, the blonde opponent continues her relentless attack but begins to tire. The blonde opponent delivers a powerful, decisive kick that sends Han Hang flying across the ring. Han Hang slides hard across the stone floor of the ring, kicking up dust as she is defeated. As pressure builds, Han Hang stands up, blushing and looking embarrassed by her defeat. Instead, Yuanfeng praises Han Hang, calling her Qing Han, and commends her smart defensive strategy that successfully wore down the opponent. Zichen gently pats Qing Han on the head, praising her for lasting over 3 minutes against a senior who has an extra year of training. The pink-haired girl, Yuntong, charges onto the ring, determined to take advantage of the blonde opponent's depleted stamina. Meanwhile, Yuntong launches a high kick, but the blonde opponent agilely dodges the strike by leaning backward. The blonde opponent swiftly counters Yuntong's attack, moving with impressive speed despite her fatigue. The blonde opponent delivers a sharp strike directly to Yuntong's face, completely catching her off guard. The blonde opponent easily pins Yuntong to the ground, forcing her to cry out in pain and surrender immediately. The blonde opponent stands triumphantly over the defeated Yuntong. The blonde senior stands tall and smug, looking down at the defeated Han Hong, who is looking down in shame and silence. Meanwhile, Yuan Feng, sporting long brown hair tied in twin tails, steps up with a determined expression and raises her fist. A female student in a dark uniform delivers a powerful high kick to another female student on a sparring mat. A cheerful girl with pink hair tied in twin braids raises her fist in celebration, shouting praises for Chu Xin's victory. A green-haired male student pats the pink-haired girl on the head. 2 hours later, 2 male instructors or coaches stand in the training hall. With the stakes rising, Coach Feng gestures calmly, telling his rival not to speak too soon. Meanwhile, Coach Feng calls up He Yu, a confident student with a shaved head who smirks and cracks his knuckles. He Yu leaps onto the sparring platform with an athletic flip, landing in a crouching three-point stance with high energy. He Yu stands confidently on the platform, rolling up his sleeve and challenging his senior opponent with a cocky grin. A brown-haired senior opponent stands with arms crossed, looking unimpressed and calling He Yu pretentious and cringy. Annoyed by the insult, He Yu delivers a lightning-fast kick straight to the senior's face, catching him completely off guard. The senior opponent crashes hard onto the floor, crying out in pain from the sudden powerful kick. He Yu stands triumphantly over his fallen opponent, hands on his hips, mocking the senior's weak performance. The result is immediate. Seriously. A tall, muscular student with purple hair walks onto the platform, looking down at He Yu with an arrogant smirk. The purple-haired challenger throws a massive, high-speed punch directly at He Yu, aiming to end the fight quickly. He Yu displays incredible reflexes, ducking low to easily dodge the massive punch, leaving his opponent shocked by his speed. Soon, what? From his low dodge, He Yu transitions into a handstand and delivers a powerful upward kick to the challenger's chin, sending him flying. The purple-haired challenger falls flat on his back, completely knocked out by He Yu's counterattack. The pink-haired girl and another female classmate cheer wildly from the sidelines, celebrating He Yu's consecutive victories. He Yu lands a powerful straight punch to yet another opponent's face, knocking him backward. He Yu stands on the platform, panting and sweating. Instead, despite his exhaustion, he tries to maintain his cocky attitude, calling for more opponents. Instead, exhausted, He Yu is finally defeated by his sixth opponent. Coach Feng looks serious and calls up his next key fighter, Wang Shuji, to turn the tide of the battle. With the stakes rising, Wang Shuji, a blonde student with glowing yellow eyes, leaps into the arena with immense energy, ready to fight. A montage shows Wang Shuji single-handedly defeating 10 opponents in a row with rapid, powerful strikes and kicks. The rival coach looks shocked and panicked, realizing he didn't know Class 1 had such a powerful student. As pressure builds, Coach Feng smiles smugly, explaining that the student is a recent transfer, and reminds his rival of their bet. The rival coach cries comical tears of defeat. Teacher Han places a reassuring hand on Zikin's shoulder, telling him it is his turn to spar. With the stakes rising, Zikin confidently walks past Teacher Han with a smile, assuring him that he will win the match. Meanwhile, Zikin stands on the platform facing his opponent, an incredibly large, round student. 3 female students in the crowd shout encouragement to Zikin. The large opponent reacts with shock and irritation to the insults from the crowd. The large opponent smiles smugly, telling Zikin that he will stand completely still and let him have 10 free moves first. The opponent continues to mock Zikin, laughing as he explains he is doing this so Zikin's fangirls won't complain about him bullying the weak. With the stakes rising, Zikin scratches the back of his head with a casual, relaxed smile. The large opponent puffs out his massive chest and belly, challenging Zikin to go all out and strike him with full force. Zikin delivers a devastating high-speed punch directly into the center of the opponent's massive stomach, creating a massive shockwave upon impact. The sheer force of Zikin's single punch launches the massive opponent flying backward through the air at high speed. The entire crowd of students and teachers stands in stunned, silent disbelief as they stare at the defeated opponent lying motionless on the ground. The crowd erupts into wild cheers and celebration. The large opponent sits up, holding his head in complete confusion and disbelief, unable to comprehend how he was defeated so easily. Meanwhile, 2 male teachers are talking in a school hallway. The brown-haired teacher continues the conversation, looking back at his colleague. Instead, Ziken, a young man with messy teal hair wearing a school uniform jacket, walks up to the 2 teachers from behind. The brown-haired teacher turns to Ziken and explains that Wu Tiancheng is a senior from a few years ago. The teacher raises a finger as he lists Wu Tiancheng's absurd physical feats, including running 100 meters in 6.12 seconds. Meanwhile, Ziken scratches his head with a closed-eye smile, playing along by saying he is a little scared. The brown-haired teacher enthusiastically raises a large bottle of cola, cheering for Zikin. A wide overhead view of the restaurant dining hall showing multiple large round tables filled with students. Instead, Zikin sits at the main table, surrounded by eager classmates who are trying to get close to him. Zikin looks warmly at Han, a girl with pink hair and twin tails, who is sitting next to him. With the stakes rising, Han's face as she suddenly looks startled. Meanwhile, Han stands up from the table in a hurry, telling Zikin that she needs to use the restroom. As Han runs off toward the restroom in the background, Zikin is left at the table with his classmates. As pressure builds, Han rushes down the hallway toward the restroom, holding her forehead in distress. Instead, Han stands frozen near the restroom entrance, listening to two female classmates wash their hands and talk behind her back. Han stands before the two gossiping girls, her eyes shadowed in anger and hurt. With the stakes rising, Han turns and walks away with a determined, serious expression, leaving the two gossiping girls startled in the background. Meanwhile, later that evening, Zikin and Han walk home together along a city street. Han looks down sadly as they walk, explaining that when she was little. As pressure builds, Han continues walking ahead of Zikin, carrying a shopping bag. Instead, Zikin's face, his expression serious and gentle as he looks at Han and firmly tells her that she is not disabled. Zikin stops Han, placing his hands on her shoulders and looking directly into her eyes. With the stakes rising, Han looks up at Zikin with wide, surprised pink eyes. Meanwhile, Zikin speaks with absolute confidence, a blue aura of energy radiating behind him. Han looks at Zikin with curiosity. As pressure builds, Zikin smiles and places a hand on Han's head as they continue walking down the street together. Instead, Han holds her cheeks in excitement. Zikin walks ahead, looking back at Han with a confident smile. A public square or building lobby with a checkered floor. Meanwhile, security guards in helmets and tactical gear confront a man holding a broom. A close-up action shot of the confrontation. The broom-wielding man's face. He is screaming in agony and rage, his eyes wide and bloodshot, tears streaming down his face. The broom-wielding man charges forward aggressively, raising his broom high above his head to strike. Instead, Zikin and Han walk away from. Soon, Han looks back with a worried and frightened expression, asking Zikin if the man is crazy. Zikin and Han continue walking down the street together, heading home. With the stakes rising, Zikin, his mother, and his father are sitting on the sofa watching the news on television. Meanwhile, Zikin's mother, who has long teal hair and is wearing a pink dress, Zikin's father, who wears glasses and has short brown hair. The television screen displays photos of 5 young, beautiful women with black bars over their eyes. Instead, Zikin's mother turns to him with a worried expression. A guard in tactical gear speaks with a doctor in a white lab coat outside an interrogation room. The guard asks the doctor about the suspect's mental state. The guard looks surprised and refutes the doctor's claim. A sudden close-up of the guard's face as his eyes widen in shock and alarm. The guard and the doctor look through the window into the interrogation room in absolute shock. The suspect undergoes a horrific transformation, mutating into a giant, muscular bipedal rat monster with sharp teeth and claws. A group of armed police officers in tactical gear fire their automatic weapons at a massive, monstrous rat-man creature. A female officer with blue hair runs up to her commanding officer, a gray-haired chief holding a sniper rifle. The chief commands his squad to retreat to the vehicle, to lure the giant rat man to the outskirts of the city to buy time. An officer wearing a helmet and tactical vest sits inside the vehicle. The police van speeds down the highway with its sirens flashing, while the massive rat man leaps through the air in hot pursuit. The giant rat man catches up to the police van and violently smashes into the rear of the vehicle. The force of the monster's impact causes the police van to flip violently through the air, spinning out of control on the mountain road. The blue-haired female officer lies severely injured and hanging upside down out of the shattered window of the overturned police van. The giant rat man stands triumphantly over the wrecked police vehicle, throwing its head back and roaring loudly into the night sky. A sudden, powerful explosion erupts directly on the face of the roaring rat man, interrupting its victory cry. A female cyborg hero clad in sleek purple and black high-tech armor hovers in mid-air. The missiles strike the giant rat man, creating a series of fiery explosions across its body as the cyborg hero commands it to die. The cyborg hero stands at the edge of a massive crater, filled with smoke and blood. The green-haired protagonist sits at his desk in his room, looking at his computer screen. To test the results of his recent physical training, he leaps into a secluded alleyway without surveillance cameras, moving at incredible speed. He leaps high into the air between the alley walls, marveling at his enhanced physical capabilities, including a record-breaking sprint time and vertical jump. He lands gracefully on the ground in a crouching position. He stops and turns his head, his eyes wide with alertness and curiosity as he peers into the darkness of the alley. From behind, he stands in the alley and looks toward a small dark figure crouching near some trash cans in the distance. A small, grotesque rat-man creature crouches on the ground, holding a piece of flesh. He is shocked and breaks into a sweat, realizing that the creature before him is a rat-man. He decides he must escape immediately and notify the police. The small rat-man moves with blinding speed, bouncing off the alley walls in a zigzag pattern as it closes the distance to he. The creature continues its rapid, erratic movements, leaping from wall to wall down the narrow alleyway. The rat-man screeches about its hunger for human flesh as it lunges downward from the walls toward its target. He looks up in panic as the incredibly fast rat-man dives directly at him from above. He realizes he has no choice but to fight the diving rat-man head-on. The force of he's kick sends the rat-man flying backward through the air. The rat-man crashes violently onto the hard ground of the alley, sliding backward with immense force, kicking up dust and debris from the impact. The rat-man slowly pushes itself up, clutching its chest in pain. The rat-man crouches low, glaring back at he who stands on guard at the other end of the alley. A large, heavy stone block suddenly rains down from above, striking the rat-man squarely on the head with a crushing impact. Instead, determined not to give the monster any chance to recover, he summons his speed. A barrage of heavy stones and debris is kicked up and launched at high speed toward the target. The rat-man is pelted by the relentless barrage of heavy stones, screaming in agony as the crushing impacts batter its body from all directions. He stands panting heavily in the middle of the quiet alley, looking down at a pile of crushed, steaming remains on the ground. After killing the rat-man, Xiao Chen checks whether its body still contains usable life essence. His codex advances, but the reward is disappointingly small. The system converts the result into another reward, giving Xiao Chen a clearer route to evolution. The percentage barely moves. Instead, Xiao Chen walks away down a dark, narrow alleyway filled with trash cans and industrial equipment before dawn. While the alley remains unsafe, a figure wearing purple armored boots landing heavily on the ground, kicking up a cloud of dust. The schedule protects her from burning out. A purple armored investigator arrives over the dead rat-man and demands to know who killed it. The armor marks her as someone powerful enough to. An exterior shot of a dark, dilapidated brick building at night. That makes the next hunt unavoidable. A hooded cultist in dark robes carries an unconscious woman over his shoulder, walking toward a glowing red ritual circle drawn on the floor. Meanwhile, elsewhere, a cult offers a captive to the Lord Rat God, only to learn that the deity wants stronger prey. The cultist prostrates himself on the ground. Qinghan's progress is real, but her form remains inefficient. As pressure builds, elsewhere, a cult offers a captive to the Lord Rat God. Xiao Chen keeps the lesson practical instead of dramatic. The dark chamber showing the glowing red ritual circle, and the cultist bowing low on the floor before the unseen deity. The body yields. The cultist remains prostrated on the ground, submissively acknowledging the rat god's command, but he has no idea who just entered the scene. A large, raw piece of meat is thrown from the darkness. The ritual proves the cult is still active. The cultist eagerly picks up the raw meat and begins tearing into it with his teeth, thanking the rat god for the gracious gift. A massive, slimy purple tentacle wraps tightly around the unconscious woman. No one in the city knows what is coming. The giant beast devours the offering, its massive jaws lined with sharp teeth closing around the victim. The cultist accepts the order without question. As pressure builds, Xiao Chen instructs Qinghan to practice her stance and then attack him with all her strength. Instead, all right, now practice. Instead, Qinghan attacks with a stronger punch, but Xiao Chen catches it and immediately corrects her technique. Qinghan immediately follows up with a high kick, aiming for Xiao Chen's head. With the stakes rising, Xiao Chen effortlessly blocks her high kick with his arm. Ordinary victims are no longer acceptable prey. Meanwhile, kneeling on the floor and catching her breath, Qinghan smiles, noting that she can feel her martial strength growing stronger. Qinghan looks up at Xiao Chen and asks if they can train daily instead of just 3 times a week. Her power is stronger. As pressure builds, Xiao Chen explains that she won't be able to endure the physical toll of daily training. The correction exposes how far her. Xiao Chen's phone suddenly rings, drawing his attention as he reaches into his pocket. The message opens a second mystery. Instead, Xiao Chen pulls out his phone to check the notification, and Qinghan leans in curiously. The news report on the phone screen shows a blonde girl in a wheelchair. With the stakes rising, Xiao Chen stares at his phone. At Lin Zixin's home, Zixin is typing rapidly on his keyboard. A man with glasses stands behind Zixin, praising his novel's performance. Instead, instructor Han Yuanfeng holds a tablet and announces an in-class sparring session to check the students' training progress. A dynamic montage shows students sparring intensely on the martial arts stage, throwing powerful kicks and punches. With the stakes rising, Zixin completely dominates his opponents on the martial arts stage. Meanwhile, Yuanfeng hands Zixin his earnings of 888 yuan. The result is immediate. Zixin also gains experience points for completing the primal dominance achievement. A flashback shows Qinghan actively exchanging strikes, punches, and kicks with Wen Yuntong, managing to hold her ground for almost 3 minutes this time. As pressure builds, instructor Yuanfeng praises Qinghan for her noticeable progress and encourages her to keep up the good work. Instead, Yuanfeng addresses the entire class, announcing that in 1 month they will challenge the strongest second-year elite class. A month passes quickly. With the stakes rising, Zichen checks his phone, which displays a balance of 89,000 yuan earned from his novels. With a new theory to test, Xiao Chen buys expensive beast meat and prepares another experiment. The shopkeeper informs Zichen that there is a sale. If he buys 50 kilograms at once, he can get a 5% discount. Zichen ponders his decision, resolving to wait until next month when he has saved enough money to buy the full 50 kilograms at once. The next day at school, Qinghan excitedly runs up to Zichen in the hallway. At the cafeteria, a chef is actively cooking at the stir-fry station. A close-up shows a tray of freshly prepared cafeteria food, including rice, greens, and sliced meat dishes, being carried to a table. With the stakes rising, Zichen and Qinghan sit at a table eating their lunch. In the cafeteria line, a student with a buzz cut confronts another student who cut in line. Qinghan points toward the commotion and asks Zichen if they should go check on Heiyu, who is the one arguing with the line cutter. As pressure builds, Zichen calmly replies that they don't need to get involved because Heiyu's presence is fierce and the line cutter has already. Instead, suddenly, a group of 4 intimidating students approaches Heiyu, surrounding him with hostile expressions. The group of intimidating students smugly admits they are cutting in line. Heiyu tries to physically push back against the group, but a sudden realization of their overwhelming strength hits him. Heiyu stands with his arms outstretched, unable to budge the 2 smug students in front of him. Qinghan gasps, pointing out that Heiyu is being bullied. The bully turns around and arrogantly challenges Zichen, asking what he can possibly do. The bully scoffs, calling Zichen's threat to report them contemptible as he stands with his hand on his hip. Zichen stands beside Heiyu, calmly retorting that cutting in line is even more contemptible while keeping his phone ready. With the stakes rising, defeated by the threat of being reported, the group of bullies walks away grumbling. Meanwhile, focusing on a large villa, the result is immediate. Inside, a group of hooded cultists is gathered in a dimly lit hall. The cult leader, wearing a dark hood that casts a shadow over his eyes, delivers a chilling command. As pressure builds, 2 hooded followers express their concern. The leader explains that the captured young man will be offered to one of the divine children serving the Lord Rat God. In a school hallway, Heiyu and Lin Yuan stand near the lockers discussing their upcoming challenge. As pressure builds, Lin Yuan stands calmly holding his smartphone, looking directly forward with a composed expression. Instead, Lin Yuan's eyes widen in sudden shock and realization as he looks down at his smartphone screen. Lin Yuan looks at his phone screen, which displays a missing person notice with a photo of a young man. With the stakes rising, Lin Yuan stands in the dimly lit locker room, his eyes shadowed in deep thought. A group of smug second-year students stands together, looking down mockingly. Heiyu angrily responds to the provocation by returning the same offensive gesture, his face contorted in rage. As pressure builds, Shen Qinghan steps onto the sparring ring, raising her leg in a martial arts stance. Instead, an elite senior sister from the opposing class leaps forward with incredible speed, executing a powerful flying kick aimed directly at Shen Qinghan. The senior sister's kick connects with immense force, sending Shen Qinghan flying backward across the ring amidst a cloud of dust and shockwaves. With the stakes rising, Shen Qinghan slides backward on the ring floor, struggling to maintain her balance. The dominant senior sister continues her onslaught. Li Chuxin is also defeated, falling backward under the senior sister's relentless pressure. The dominant senior sister is finally defeated and sent crashing to the ground after a stocky. Instead, another senior sister with long red hair steps onto the stage, looking confident and composed. The red-haired senior sister easily defeats a male student from Class 1, sending him flying off the stage with a powerful kick. The remaining members of first-year Class 1 stand together, looking grim. In contrast, the second-year Class 3 crowd is massive and full of confidence. The Class 1 instructor looks on with a worried and sweating expression. The instructor turns to Heiyu, telling him it is his turn to fight. Heiyu confidently steps forward onto the stage, striking a martial arts pose and declaring that it will be no problem for him. Heiyu boasts with a smug, drooling expression, imagining himself facing even more beautiful senior sisters as they appear in his fantasy behind him. Heiyu quickly backs up his boast on the stage, delivering a decisive strike that knocks his opponent out of the ring. A female student from Class 3 lies defeated on the ground. The smug student who previously cut in line steps onto the stage. Heiyu stands his ground, sweating slightly but remaining confident. The smug opponent moves with blinding speed, catching Heiyu completely off guard. The smug student lunges at Heiyu, delivering a powerful, high-speed strike that connects directly with Heiyu's torso. Heiyu is forced to his knees on the ring floor, clutching his stomach in pain. The smug student stands over a kneeling Heiyu, looming over him with a condescending expression. Heiyu suddenly retaliates with a swift, powerful kick. catching the smug student off guard. He-Yu's kick lands squarely on the smug student, who is sent reeling backward. The smug student is sent flying across the ring, crashing down onto the floor. The defeated student lies on the ground, clutching his stomach and gasping in pain. A new challenger, Chen, stands on the ring, taunting He-Yu. He-Yu leaps into the air, moving with incredible agility and speed. He-Yu lands gracefully on the stage, his eyes locked on Chen. He-Yu's classmates cheer him on from the sidelines, shouting encouragement and demanding that he humiliate Chen for his past behavior. He-Yu and Chen dash toward each other, the air vibrating with the intensity of their movement. Chen attempts a high sweeping kick aimed at He-Yu's head. He-Yu remains composed, watching the attack unfold with a sharp, calculating gaze. He-Yu effortlessly blocks Chen's kick with his hand, the impact creating a bright flash of energy. He-Yu grabs Chen by the head and slams him down onto the floor with overwhelming force. Chen lies unconscious on the floor, his eyes rolled back. He has been completely incapacitated by He-Yu's decisive counterattack. He-Yu stands over the defeated Chen, looking down at him with a calm, indifferent expression. He-Yu delivers a final swift strike to the downed Chen, ensuring he remains out of the fight. The onlookers are stunned, whispering among themselves about how quickly He-Yu defeated Chen. A student observes the fight, noting that He-Yu must be hiding his true strength to have defeated Chen so easily. Meanwhile, other students watch in disbelief, questioning if He-Yu is even human given his incredible performance. He-Yu stands on the stage, looking at the remaining students and calmly asking who is going to challenge him next. The remaining students look terrified and hesitant, clearly intimidated by He-Yu's display of strength. They are reluctant to step onto the stage. He-Yu reflects on his progress, noting that he has defeated all 29 remaining students of Class 3. A status window, showing He-Yu's progress in primal dominance. He is disappointed that the progress is increasing too slowly. He-Yu contemplates his situation, realizing that he can no longer wait for his turn in the sparring sessions. He-Yu decides to take matters into his own hands and heads to the principal's office on Monday. He-Yu stands in the principal's office, proposing a personal challenge to the entire school. The female principal, wearing a white blazer and black skirt, stands behind her desk with her hand on her forehead in disbelief. As pressure builds, Zichen, a young man with messy green hair wearing a dark blue jacket over a white shirt. The principal stands with her arms crossed in the gym, looking slightly impatient and questioning why Zichen brought her here so late. Zichen confidently shrugs off his dark jacket, revealing his fit physique in a tight white t-shirt, stating he brought her to show his strength. The principal looks startled and blushes slightly. To prove his strength, Zichen lifts 700 kilograms with one hand and leaves the principal speechless. Viewed from between Zichen's legs, the principal stands frozen in absolute shock, her mouth wide open and eyes wide with disbelief. The principal covers her mouth in astonishment. Instead, convinced by his overwhelming power, Zichen scratches his head with a friendly, relaxed smile, reminding the principal to set up prizes to motivate other students to challenge him. With the stakes rising, Zichen explains his strategic prize pool idea. The principal smiles warmly and reassuringly, fully agreeing to execute the plan exactly as Zichen requested. Zichen requests that the principal keep his true strength a secret for now, so that challengers won't be discouraged from stepping up. The principal shows Zichen a document detailing the challenge setup. Instead, Zichen looks over it and thanks her for her hard work. The principal looks at Zichen with a gentle, slightly flirtatious smile, assuring him that helping him is no trouble at all. Two male students watch from a distance in absolute shock, rubbing their eyes as they witness the principal acting so friendly and accommodating. With the stakes rising, one of the male students is completely baffled, noting that the principal is normally known for her fierce, cold demeanor. The principal stands in the ring holding a microphone. The student crowd reacts with outrage and mockery. As pressure builds, Zichen announces his schedule for the daily spars during lunch break. A blonde young man in a dark jacket walks down the street, sipping a drink from a juice box. Two attractive women approach the blonde man on the street, inviting him to join them for drinks at a bar. The blonde man gives them a cold, piercing glare, while continuing to sip his drink, bluntly telling them to get away from him. The two women walk away annoyed, calling him boring. The blonde man watches them go, internally complaining about how pathetic Shanghai City is. The blonde man looks around at the passing crowd, frustrated that he cannot find a single highly attractive. The blonde young man clutches his head in deep anxiety, sweating as he imagines the looming. The blonde cultist walks down a busy street, looking stressed as he recalls his failed plan to kidnap a male celebrity. The blonde cultist paces down the sidewalk, clutching his head in frustration. A handsome young man with messy teal hair, wearing a white tank top and black athletic shorts, jogs down the street. The teal-haired jogger continues his run, sweat glistening on his skin. The teal-haired jogger runs down a quiet, paved street. The blonde cultist's face reveals a sinister, wide-mouthed grin. The blonde cultist quietly stalks the teal-haired jogger from behind, as the jogger turns down a secluded, empty alleyway between brick buildings. The cultist's face shows his features warping into a monstrous, wide-eyed expression. He is delighted by the lack of witnesses in the quiet alley. The cultist transforms into a grotesque, muscular gray monster with a massive, toothy maw and a long, slithering tongue. Before the monster can attack, a heavy rectangular brick or block suddenly drops from above, slamming directly onto the monster's head with a monstrous, gray-skinned rat man clutching its head in agony in a dark alleyway. A young man with messy teal hair, wearing a white tank top and dark athletic shorts, stands calmly in the alleyway holding another brick. The injured rat man collapses to its knees, clutching its head where the brick is lodged. The rat man falls forward onto the pavement with a heavy thud, completely defeated. He looking surprised and slightly disappointed. The system converts the result into another reward, giving Xiao Chen a clearer route to evolution. He looks annoyed that his progress only increased by 1%, confirming the rat man was low quality. A mental visualization of much more terrifying and powerful rat monsters with multiple eyes and massive fangs. He maintains a serious expression as he considers the danger of stronger rat god cult followers. The next morning, now wearing light blue pajamas, steps out of his room while drying his hair with a towel. He sits on his sofa, drying his hair while watching a news broadcast on a large television screen. The news broadcast shows footage of Wu Tiancheng, a teacher from Shanghai University's Evolution Institute. The news footage displays Tiancheng hovering high in the night sky, unleashing a barrage of sharp, black, feather-like projectiles down toward a massive. As pressure builds, an action shot from the news broadcast showing Tiancheng diving down with incredible speed. The final moments of the battle are shown on screen, with the massive Rat King collapsing in defeat. He stares at the television screen in awe, deeply impressed by the overwhelming power demonstrated by an advanced biological-level gene fusioner. An exterior shot of a modern high-rise apartment building against a twilight sky, transitioning to a different location in the city. With the stakes rising, inside a well-furnished room, a handsome young man with dark blue hair, wearing tactical gear and a bulletproof vest. Meanwhile, sitting opposite him is a spiky, orange-haired man, also in tactical gear, holding a teacup. The two men in tactical gear discussing the situation in a spacious office. The blue-haired man reflects on the term small fry. The blue-haired man smiles, acknowledging that to a genius advanced biological level fusioner like his companion, the blue-haired man playfully puts his arm around the orange-haired man's shoulder, suggesting he visit his old school to give a lecture. The blue-haired man insists that guiding junior students is also important work. With the stakes rising, deep inside the dark cave filled with sharp stalactites, a large, multi-eyed rat monster cringes on the cave floor. A massive, green-skinned foot steps down near the trembling rat monster. The camera pans up to reveal a colossal, muscular green giant with glowing red eyes and tribal markings. A terrifying close-up of the green giant's face as he roars with his mouth wide open, revealing rows of sharp fangs. The terrified rat monster begs its lord for another chance. A close-up shot of the multi-eyed rat monster looking upward in terror. The massive green giant reaches down with his large clawed hand, placing his fingers menacingly on the head of the cowering rat monster. A sudden violent slashing motion cuts through the air, depicted by sharp red and black streaks against a plain white background. A massive, green-skinned demon with glowing red eyes and sharp fangs sits in a dark cave, holding a small red orb. The green demon grinning widely, showing rows of sharp white teeth with blood dripping from them as he prepares to eat. The green demon stands over a gray-furred rat beast, mocking its intelligence for hiding in the shadows while letting its brother take the fall. The demon's large, clawed green hand in a close-up, threatening the rat beast to begin digging tunnels immediately. The terrified rat beast with its mouth wide open, tongue sticking out, and sweat dripping down its face in fear. A red slash mark cuts through a dark background, representing a swift and lethal strike. Lin Zichen walks through the school courtyard looking at his phone, surrounded by whispering students who mock his ambition. As pressure builds, Lin Zichen looking calmly at his smartphone screen while walking outdoors. Instead, Zichen's phone screen displays a wanted poster for 9 remnants of the rat god cult, offering a massive reward for clues. Zichen stares intently at his phone, realizing that finding these cult remnants could yield a massive financial payout. With the stakes rising, Zichen stands under the shade of trees. A massive crowd of students gathered around a boxing ring inside the school gymnasium. Zichen stands confidently inside the boxing ring, looking down at the massive crowd that has gathered to watch him. A girl with pink twin tails, Shen Qinghan, stands in the ring holding a megaphone and a clipboard, announcing participation rewards to the excited crowd. A group of male students react with extreme excitement. An excited male student with heart-shaped eyes raises his hand high, eager to be the first to challenge Zichen. A female student leaps forward, stepping directly on the face of the male student who was trying to volunteer. A stampede of enthusiastic female students rushes forward, stepping all over the male students on the floor to get into the ring. The boxing ring shows a group of female students surrounding Zikin, eager to challenge him. As pressure builds, two panels showing female students clinging to Zikin, admiring his strong arms and handsome face while he looks completely bewildered. Instead, Zikin stands frozen and sweating as a crowd of attractive female students surrounds him closely, making the situation highly awkward. Zikin prepares to unleash a burst of energy, deciding that he must fight back despite his reluctance to hit girls. With the stakes rising, Zikin uses a gentle palm strike infused with wind energy to push a female challenger back without causing her serious. Meanwhile, another female challenger is blown backward by a shockwave from Zikin's palm strike, crying out as she flies through the air. The system converts the result into another reward, giving Xiao Chen a clearer route to evolution. A defeated female student raises her hand from outside the ring, eagerly asking to challenge Zikin again. Instead, I want to challenge again. Instead, Zikin stands firmly in the ring, calmly explaining the rules that defeated challengers cannot try again. Soon, defeated challengers may not re-challenge. The female students react with disappointment, complaining because they simply wanted an excuse to stay close to Zikin. With the stakes rising, why not? A group of male students approaches the ring with aggressive expressions. The system converts the result into another reward, giving Xiao Chen a clearer route to evolution. Zichen stands triumphantly atop a massive, towering pile of defeated male students stacked on top of each other. A tall, stylish student with brown hair and a headband stands confidently in front of a crowd of shocked onlookers. A flashback shows Xiao Xuan lying defeated on the ground, while a powerful senior student named Chen Wuxing stands over him, radiating a dark. With the stakes rising, Xiao Xuan walks confidently across the ring towards Zichen. Meanwhile, Zichen stands calmly in the ring, looking completely bored and unimpressed by Xiao Xuan's long-winded speech, offering only a silent ellipsis in response. Xiao Xuan continues his lecture in the background, while Zichen turns to the referee and politely asks if they can begin the match immediately. As pressure builds, just as Xiao Xuan begins to speak again, Zichen's fist connects brutally with his face in a high-speed blur. The ring shows the sheer power of Zichen's punch. Zichen stands calmly in the foreground, cleaning his ear with his pinky finger and sighing in relief at the silence. The crowd of students is left completely dumbfounded and terrified, screaming in disbelief that the legendary Yan Xiaoshuan was defeated in a single punch. A close-up shows hands clapping slowly. Wuxing, a tall student with spiky red hair and a smug grin, cracks his knuckles as he walks forward, eager to challenge Zichen. As pressure builds, Wuxing leaps into the ring and lands in a powerful stance, cracking the floor beneath his feet. Instead, Zichen immediately turns to the referee and asks to start the match, completely ignoring Wuxing's attempt to talk. Wuxing charges forward with a furious expression, his fist glowing with a powerful blue energy aura. With the stakes rising, Zichen easily overpowers the clash, sending Wuxing flying high into the air with a powerful punch. Meanwhile, Wuxing screams in absolute shock and disbelief as he is launched backward through the air, completely defeated by Zichen's overwhelming strength. The entire crowd of students stands frozen with wide eyes and open mouths. As pressure builds, Zichen stands casually in the ring, pointing down at the stunned crowd and telling them not to space out. Instead, Zichen points directly at a random student in the crowd. The student nervously climbs into the ring, bowing and begging Zichen to go easy on him. The system converts the result into another reward, giving Xiao Chen a clearer route to evolution. The crowd of students suddenly realizes that losing to Zichen is not embarrassing at all. The system converts the result into another reward, giving Xiao Chen a clearer route to evolution. A blue, futuristic system notification screen against a plain, white background. Instead, Zichen pumps both of his fists in absolute triumph, his face lit up with a wide, ecstatic grin and eyes wide with excitement. The system converts the result into another reward, giving Xiao Chen a clearer route to evolution. As pressure builds, an announcer declares the end of the challenge over the loudspeaker, telling everyone they may leave. Instead, Zichen walks away from the arena area, leading Han by the hand. The principal leans forward slightly, putting a finger to her lips with a knowing, playful smile. With the stakes rising, Zichen sits on the sofa sipping tea, casually downplaying his power by claiming he is only hiding a tiny bit. The principal recalls Chen Wuxing's impressive feat of lifting a 690 kilograms barbell single-handedly during his entrance exam. Zichen admits to the principal that his measured strength is 795 kilograms, letting her believe she guessed correctly. The principal laughs triumphantly, pleased that her intuition was correct. Instead, Zichen prepares to interrupt her celebration to ask a question. Instead, Zichen raises his hand high in the air, eagerly asking when his prize money of 8,810 yuan will be transferred to his. The principal sighs playfully at his obsession with money and pulls out her phone to transfer the funds. The principal begins to explain that Zichen will represent the school from now on, but Zichen quickly speaks up to make a specific request. Meanwhile, Zikin points toward Han Han and requests permission to use the gymnasium's swimming pool, claiming they both love swimming. Zichen adds a strict condition to his request. The principal smiles softly and easily agrees to his terms, granting him permission to use the pool privately. The principal says, all right, fine. Instead, surprised by how quickly she agreed, Zikin pushes further. The principal smiles mischievously, her imagination running wild as she contemplates the implications of a young boy and girl being alone in a locked. The principal imagines a romantic scenario of Zichen and Han Han embracing intimately in swimwear inside the indoor pool. Meanwhile, amused by her own assumptions, the principal opens her desk drawer to retrieve the key to the gymnasium pool. The principal holds out a brass key to Zichen, officially designating the gymnasium pool as their private facility from now on. The principal leans in close to Zichen, whispering playfully and warning him to be careful and avoid causing any accidents. Instead, Zichen is rendered in a simplified, chibi art style, looking completely bewildered and confused by the principal's warning about accidents. Zichen and Han Han walk down the school hallway together. With the stakes rising, Zichen looks at the key with a serious expression. Meanwhile, Han Han stops walking and turns to Zichen, nervously asking him if he can help her with something. Han Han clasps her hands together pleadingly. As pressure builds, Han Han looks up at Zichen with hopeful eyes, asking if they can rehearse tonight. Instead, Han Han happily skips down the hallway, raising her arm in celebration. Inside a brightly lit, pink-walled bedroom, Han Han stands holding a microphone and singing enthusiastically. With the stakes rising, downstairs in the living room, Han Han's father sits on the sofa holding a remote control. Meanwhile, Han Han's mother turns to her husband with an annoyed expression, scolding him. Han Han's mother stands up and places her hand on her hip, firmly telling her husband to stay out of it. A close-up shot of Zichen's ear shows him overhearing the parents' conversation from downstairs, his sharp senses picking up their voices clearly. Instead, Zichen stands up and suggests to Han Han that they wrap up their half-hour rehearsal and get back to studying. Zichen prepares to leave, slinging his bag over his shoulder as he opens the bedroom door. With the stakes rising, left alone in her room, Han Han blushes deeply as she thinks about going to the pool with Zichen. Meanwhile, Han Han stands in front of her open closet, browsing through her clothes as she ponders which swimsuit she should choose for tomorrow. Han Han lays out two swimsuits on her bed, a black two-piece bikini and a blue one-piece swimsuit. As pressure builds, Han Han picks up the black bikini, holding it up in front of her. Instead, Han Han imagines a scenario where she and Zichen are playing happily in the pool together while she wears the black bikini. Shaking off her embarrassment, a blushing Han Han quickly packs the black bikini into her bag. With the stakes rising, Zichen stands by the edge of the pool wearing dark swim trunks. Meanwhile, Zichen looks up at a security camera mounted on the wall, which has been covered with tape and paper. Zichen turns his head as he hears Han Han calling out his name from the entrance of the pool area. As pressure builds, Zichen turns around to see Han Han walking toward him, wearing the black two-piece bikini. She waves shyly, looking slightly embarrassed. Instead, Han Han runs toward Zichen with a bright smile, apologizing for keeping him waiting. Zichen is completely stunned by Han Han's appearance, his face turning red. With the stakes rising, trying to maintain his composure, Zichen blushes slightly and suggests they get into the pool to start their training. Meanwhile, Zichen and Han Han dive into the clear blue water, swimming side by side beneath the surface, surrounded by rising bubbles. As they swim underwater, Zichen reaches out and takes Han Han's hand, guiding her gently through the water as they glide together. As pressure builds, Han Han underwater shows her eyes wide with surprise as she reacts to Zichen holding her hand. Instead, Han Han looks at Zichen with a startled expression, a bubble escaping her mouth as she realizes they are holding hands underwater. Zichen points upward, signaling to Han Han that they should head back to the surface to catch their breath. With the stakes rising, Zichen wraps his arm securely around Han Han's waist. Meanwhile, Zichen and Han Han break through the surface of the water, splashing into the open air. Han Han stands in the pool, looking wide-eyed and startled. As pressure builds, Han Han cups her hands together in front of Zichen to demonstrate what she means. A close-up view shows Han Han's cupped hands as she tries to scoop up the pool water. At the pool, Qinghan discovers that water passes through her hand, revealing an ability instead of an illness. As pressure builds, Xiao Chen's face as he stares intently. Instead, Xiao Chen asks to see the purple-haired girl's hand. Xiao Chen tests the phenomenon carefully, but the rest of Qinghan's body remains completely normal. With the stakes rising, Xiao Chen tests the phenomenon carefully, but the rest of Qinghan's body remains completely normal. The purple-haired girl blushes deeply, her face turning bright red as she shyly agrees to the examination. The purple-haired girl lies down on a red mat, looking nervous and calling out Xiao Chen's name. As pressure builds, Xiao Chen pours water from a bucket onto the girl's stomach as she lies on the red table. Instead, Xiao Chen stands thoughtfully with his hand on his chin. Xiao Chen wraps a towel around his shoulders and sits next to the girl, concluding that for now, The two sit on the edge of the pool with their legs dangling in the water. Meanwhile, Xiao Chen turns to her and tells her to let him know the next time she feels like she cannot hold it in. Xiao Chen suddenly looks sweat-dropped and nervous, realizing his words sounded incredibly creepy, while the girl looks at him with wide, innocent eyes. The purple-haired girl holds up both of her hands. The girl smiles warmly at Xiao Chen, thinking to herself that she wants to stand by his side as his most perfect partner. A bustling city street at night. A massive digital billboard on a modern building displays a cybernetic man with a mechanical arm. With a new theory to test, Xiao Chen buys expensive beast meat and prepares another experiment. Xiao Chen hands over a card with his address, asking for the meat to be delivered. The clerk looks surprised but politely complies. The clerk watches Xiao Chen walk away into the crowded market, wondering who this wealthy young master is who throws money around so easily. Xiao Chen stands in a quiet alleyway, holding a cardboard box. With the stakes rising, Xiao Chen looks inside the box, which contains the dark, clawed limbs and meat of the savage giant eagle. Meanwhile, Xiao Chen reaches his hand down toward the eagle meat, eager to see what surprise awaits him once he unlocks its codex. A bright blue system screen above Xiao Chen as a white aura swirls around him. Instead, Xiao Chen finds himself standing alone in a vast, glowing blue digital landscape of data streams, representing his consciousness inside the codex system. With the stakes rising, Xiao Chen stands with his back to the viewer in a glowing blue digital space as a system notification. The system converts the result into another reward, giving Xiao Chen a clearer route to evolution. Xiao Chen's face reveals his eyes glowing with a brilliant golden light, signaling the activation of his new Sky Eye ability. The Sky Eye zoom effect focuses on a man walking through a crosswalk while looking down at his smartphone. Xiao Chen's perspective zooms in so closely that he can clearly read the live stream chat and interface on the pedestrian's smartphone screen from. With the stakes rising, Xiao Chen opens the front door and steps into his family's apartment. Meanwhile, Xiao Chen stands in the entryway, looking toward the living room where his parents are sitting on the sofa watching television. The television screen displays a news report about a tragic incident where a triple gene fusion individual mutated in public. The broadcast switches to a speaker at a podium addressing an audience. Instead, an angry scientist in a lab coat stands up in the audience to debate the speaker. Xiao Chen's parents sit on the sofa discussing the news broadcast, with his mother expressing deep concern about the volatility of gene fusion users. With the stakes rising, Xiao Chen's father smiles reassuringly. The father continues the conversation, pointing out that the real concern is the loss of reproductive capability among gene fusion users. The mother suddenly gasps in surprise as she notices someone standing nearby, her eyes widening as she cuts off her conversation. The mother blushes deeply and smiles embarrassedly, welcoming Xiao Chen back while worrying if they said anything inappropriate in front of him. Instead, Xiao Chen stands with a neutral, slightly amused expression as his parents awkwardly try to change the subject and suggest having dinner. The family sits around the dining table enjoying a large meal. The mother enthusiastically declares that they must go support her, while the father warmly agrees, noting that Han Han is like a daughter to him. Meanwhile, Xiao Chen quietly eats his food and nods in agreement, looking forward to supporting his friend at the event. In the crowd, Xiao Chen's parents wave a glowing blue sign, supporting Shen Qinghan, cheering loudly alongside other enthusiastic fans. As pressure builds, inside a quiet classroom backstage, Xiao Chen walks over to Han Han, who is sitting at a desk preparing for her performance. Instead, Han Han, with her eyes closed as a makeup brush, gently applies powder to her cheek, highlighting her delicate features. Xiao Chen holds the makeup brush and helps Han Han with her makeup. She blushes slightly and asks him why he keeps staring at her. With the stakes rising, Xiao Chen smiles warmly at her, holding a makeup sponge and brush, and compliments her beauty with genuine affection. Meanwhile, Han Han sits in her elegant black dress, blushing furiously and looking down shyly, completely flustered by Xiao Chen's direct compliment. Another female student enters the classroom and playfully teases the two of them, interrupting their intimate moment and causing Han Han to gasp in embarrassment. As pressure builds, Han Han is extremely flustered, her face completely red as she stammers an excuse to the teasing classmate. The classmate waves goodbye from the classroom doorway. Xiao Chen turns around to pack up his makeup bag, offering to walk Han Han out so she can prepare for her performance. With the stakes rising, Han Han stands up from her chair, trembling from head to toe. Meanwhile, Han Han suddenly grabs Xiao Chen's sleeve, holding onto him tightly. In a shocking and highly embarrassing moment, Han Han stands trembling before Xiao Chen as a puddle of liquid forms on the floor beneath her.